It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look at the 5 and 10. It's glistening once again with candy canes and silver lanes that glow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store, but the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door. A pair of hop-along boots and a pistol that shoots is the wish of Barney and Ben. Dolls that'll talk and will go for a walk is the hope of Janice and Jen. And Mom and Dad can hardly wait for school to start again. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. There's a tree in the Grand Hotel, one in the park as well. It's the sturdy kind that doesn't mind the snow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Soon the bells will start, and the thing that'll make them ring is the carol that you sing right within your heart. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store, but the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door. Sure, it's Christmas once more. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I am telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list, he's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping, and he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I am telling you why. 'Cause Santa Claus is coming to town. You when you're sleeping, and he knows when you're awake, and he knows if you've been bad or good.
Hello.
So be
There we go.
For goodness sake.
It's ready?
You better watch out. You better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the final day of Cooking for the Holidays. We'd like to give a big thanks to Bates Technical College for providing a live stream of all of the demos this weekend, as well as renewal, remodels, and additions for building the beautiful stage ahead of you. There are also note cards on your seats, so if you wanted to take some notes as you go along, most of the chefs bring recipes, but you just never know. And I'd love to give a nice warm welcome to Chef Chris Blondin.
Hello. Am I on?
Oh,
Am I here?
oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there we.
Awesome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What are you doing for us today?
So, God, that seems really loud to me. So I kind of got into a while ago. I'm not a big dessert person, but I did a pairing dinner not long ago, and they really wanted panna cotta for dessert. And so I was like, okay, I can do that. Like I said, I'm more of a savory person, and I like to cook in that way. But once in a while, I like to break out of my comfort zone and do desserts.
Get a little adventurous.
Yes. So if you're not familiar with panna cotta, it is a very traditional Italian dessert. It's made with cream, half and half. Different varied recipes will give you instructions on what to use. But in this case, I'm going to be using some half and half. And it's supposed to be refreshing. It's not supposed to be too sweet. It's something that you have after, obviously, your main course. And you can do all sorts of things with it. You can flavor it. You can do it very traditional, which is just with some vanilla, put some topping on it, whatever you want to do. I thought because of the fall season, I wanted to do a pumpkin panna cotta with some caramelized pears and a little rosemary, because I'm a big rosemary fan. And so I went through a couple different recipes, and I used pumpkin puree to flavor the panna cotta itself, and I did not like it. I didn't like the texture, because the panna cotta should be very similar to creme brulee, if you're familiar with creme brulee. But creme brulee uses eggs, also uses cream, and the same with panna cotta. You just don't use eggs. You use gelatin as a thickener for this. So anyway, I went through a couple different versions, and you're gonna actually really laugh when I tell you what I actually ended up doing to make it a flavored panna cotta. So don't laugh, but I used coffee creamer because it gave it that texture. It gave it that nice, fresh, creamy texture that I was looking for. And even when you put cinnamon and nutmeg, it changes the texture of it, and that really threw me. And so again, you could probably find a recipe online, and they're all going to say use pumpkin puree, and go ahead and try it if you would prefer to do it that way. But I didn't like it. So, and I like pumpkin, so I don't know. It's just a weirdness. So anyway, we're going to start out. And another thing too, when I first started making panna cotta, the whole gelatin thing freaked me out, because they were like, make sure there's no lumps. And I'm like, okay. And then my friend who makes it all the time, she's like, oh yeah, it's really, really hard. And I'm like, you're freaking me out.
That's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. And then I did it the first time, and it was perfect. And I'm like, I don't understand. So we're going to start with 1/3 cup of milk.
And if we're thinking festive panna cottas, I really kind of love that you snuck in a little savory with that rosemary.
I did.
I feel like it's appropriate.
Yeah. And I think, time of year too. I always like to balance savory with sweet. Even adding. I'll show you later. I'm going to add salt to the topping, the caramelized pear topping, because I always feel, even when you make chocolate chip cookies from scratch, you always add like a pinch of salt. It balances out that sweetness, and so I think it's really important that you do that. So here I am, I'm doing the scary part, which is the gelatin, and I just add it slowly and stir.
And you
as
use
I go.
hot water, cold water?
No, this is cold,
Okay.
cold milk. And some recipes will ask you to use water, but I think, you know, personally the creamier the better. So
We have
I
a
do.
question here.
Yes.
Does the gelatin always come in a pre-sized packet?
Yes, this is the Knox, and this is the one I've only, and it comes with 4 packs in it. This particular recipe to serve 4 people, just use 1. So, yeah. And so, yeah, you just want to make sure it just doesn't get clumpy, because nobody wants to have something nice and smooth and then end up having like this pocket of goo.
No, none of that.
So it should do pretty well, but I did towards the end you can cheat and use like a little sieve to catch any solids that might come through.
Perfect.
But I've gotten pretty decent at it to where it doesn't really need that, but the first couple times you make it, you might want to try doing that. So that's just going to sit for about 5 minutes. And so then we're going to go ahead and turn our oven on, or our surface on. Make sure that's heating. Cool. And again, I had to do some experimenting. So what I decided to do, this is a cup and a half of half and half, but I decided to do a cup of half and half and then a half a cup of this creamer.
And I like that, I mean, you're essentially encouraging people to just play around.
Yeah.
Base ingredients and have fun.
Yeah, and if you like your, you know, panna cotta a little sweeter, you might change that ratio. You know, I like just a subtle sweetness to it, this is honestly probably a little sweeter than I would like it, but I think most people like things a little on the sweeter side, so that's okay. I'm going to add just a little dash more. So yeah, so you want this to come not quite to a boil, but you want it to be a little on this hot, steamy, scalding side. Because obviously you never want milk or anything like that to come to a boil, because it'll scald super easy, and then, you know, then it's ruined.
It's ruined.
So yeah, you're just going to keep stirring that while you watch it. I put it pretty close to high, but just don't walk away from it, because you would be surprised how quickly that'll start to scald.
As soon as you look away.
Yep.
And is this a dessert that you recommend making the evening before?
Absolutely, yeah. This is a great dessert that you can make ahead of time and walk away from it. And it's actually pretty fast. This process is the easiest part of it, I think, or the quickest part of it. It's when you start getting into peeling and chopping pears is when I sit and watch for the TV while I'm like, labor intensive a little bit, because pears aren't easy to dice up. They're just, you know, especially when you want to get little pieces, and they're all, when you cut them, they're all weird weight, you know, sizes, and so you gotta. And my knife skills, I'm a chef, self-taught chef. I didn't go to school, so my knife skills are not the best. So I'm just throwing that out there right now, so nobody, you know, blog about how crappy my chef.
No judgment.
Yeah, no judgment. So see how that's starting to get a little bit steamy there? I'm going to keep it going just for a couple more minutes, or maybe another minute.
Keeping it moving the whole time.
Yeah, just want to keep it moving.
We have another question.
Okay.
Hi. What did you mentioned pairing. What did you pair it with? Did you pair it with a dinner or a wine? Or
Yeah, it was a dinner. But I actually did pair the panna cotta with a not a super sweet Prosecco, but a Prosecco that was on the sweeter side, but not cloyingly sweet, like a dessert sparkling. Because when you have something that has a lot of fat in this, or not, you know, has a decent amount of fat in it, choosing something sparkling will help break that down on your palate, and it'll balance it out a little bit, and it just makes it a little more refreshing every time you take a new bite. The bubbles will lift the fat off your tongue, and kind of give you a whole new experience every time. So yeah, a nice sparkling that's not too sweet would be good, but with a little residual sugar just to complement that. Okay, so that is looking pretty steamy. So I'm going to take that off, and we are going to take our little, see how that's thickened up considerably? I don't know if that's showing.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. So that's thickened up quite considerably.
Almost like a little paste.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to add this. Give it a good stir. Try to get most of it out. That's why I use a spatula.
And talking about Prosecco, it's very clear you have a lot of wine background. Do you want to tell anyone about your experience there?
Yeah, I've been in the wine business for probably going on 15 some years. I've owned 2 wine bars, and I've sold wine for a distributor. Right now I'm studying for my CSW, which is a certified specialist in wine, because I intend on opening another retail wine shop and club. And so yeah, just I love the wine world, and obviously food and wine go together, and I love pairing. I love pairing foods and wines, and love doing pairing dinners, and yeah, it's super fun.
I'm excited about a wine club.
Yeah.
I'm all about that.
And my friend Jack and I were also talking about doing a podcast associated with it too, so we can talk about some of the wines we bring in and just some of our silliness that we have.
You guys have a fantastic banter. I've had the opportunity to witness it. So I think it'll be a good opportunity for wine lovers to have a very approachable, non-pretentious.
Yeah. Yeah, my belief in wine is that wine is for everybody, and you don't have to be snobby. You just got to find something you like. And I don't understand the whole snobby wine thing. And another thing, I'm a real believer in buying wines that over-deliver for the price. And they're out there. Unfortunately, I've been able to go through a lot of wines, and I have people that bring me wine, and so that's the best way to learn is tasting. And so try to find your most local places to taste, because that's where you're really going to get that education, is by tasting. And like I said, beautiful wines out there. Some of my favorite wines are, maybe $14 retail, $15 retail. I mean, they're out there, and fortunately I'm one of those people that get to find those for you, not right at the moment, but I will. So keep your ears open. So this is this part is fun too. Finding nice, interesting ways to present your panna cotta. So this is some vintage bowls that I have, and I actually have a big bowl like this too, which is a big salad bowl, because technically I think these are salad bowls, but don't tell anybody. And so you just pour as much as you want in there. I didn't do a very good job, but even these little mason jars are kind of fun to do that too.
Fun little presentation.
Yeah. So either one of those I think are really fun to make that happen. And then I'll show you what I did for a little more of an elegant way to do it. I put it in a little martini glass.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
That little cutie.
So we'll finish that when I get done doing the other side of it. So now the other side of it is we're going to make our caramelized pears. And this is actually pretty easy. This is about a tablespoon and a half of butter. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. Get that going.
And you recommend salted or unsalted?
I like salted better. I know people have this big thing about salted and unsalted, and I think it really depends on the recipe. I think that's really what it comes down to. Especially baking. because people like to really control their salt.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm going to have time to actually do all of this, but these little peelers, by the way, are the stupidest little things. I don't want that to brown too much. I'm going to take that off.
They're just asking for you to slice off a little bit of yourself.
Well, yeah, but they work amazing. They're just the best peeler I've ever had. And I used to have a retail shop that we sold these, and they work really well. This is just awkward.
A question here.
Yes.
Do you go ahead and chill that before you put the pears on it, or you?
Yes. This will go into the refrigerator. So, unfortunately, the one I made right now, we will not try, but I brought ones I pre-made because it takes about 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours to chill. And we don't have 3 to 4 hours to chill.
You don't have that kind
unless
of
I come
time.
back. So, like I said, I'm not going to torture you through all of this.
Peeling away.
Just peeling.
Is it important to get the peel off?
Yeah. Pear peels are kind of tough, I think. I mean, I like eating pears with peels on them, but when you want to saute them, you just want that nice soft texture, and having the peel on it will not allow you to have that. So I'm just going to get rid of those. Oops. I'm going to cut that in half. And get that core out. Pear cores are much more dense than apple cores.
Don't want any of that making it in there.
Nah, even if you kind of do it, that's fine. How are we doing on time?
I think you're doing fabulously on
Okay.
time. Yeah, got plenty of time. Oh, we have another question.
Yeah.
Any particular type of pears that you prefer, or Bartlett, or Bosc, or?
These are Anjou, I believe. These are Anjou. And no, not in this particular recipe. I don't think so. I personally don't think so.
Some creative freedom if someone
Yeah.
just wanted to.
I'll be really honest. These were really good price bags at Costco. So that's what I went with. Because this recipe calls for at least 2, and because I was making for quite a few, I was like, for what I would pay for probably 3 or 4 at the regular grocery store and get at Costco for the same price, I'm like, why not? So,
Let's be reasonable
yeah,
now.
I shouldn't have poured that right away, but now it makes it even more difficult to. They're just slippery, And I have the finished version right here.
So we'll have a peek at that.
Yeah.
You're making that incredibly easy looking, though.
Let's just hope I don't do the old finger peel. As we all probably have done that, and that is not fun.
Yes, it's probably the worst thing ever.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has their own way of doing it, but again, I do like this peeler. I don't know why. Just it's sharp and it works well.
Is it what brand was it? Did you say?
It's called Cum Bicon. It's from, does it say Switzerland? I don't know, but it was cheap. Cheap and
effective.
good.
Yeah.
It's always my thing. Just don't cut yourself.
Patience.
Yeah.
Now, if you really love pumpkins, I'm thinking would a toasted pumpkin seed go well on this?
Yeah, I think so. I know I was trying to think of some other toppings, and I almost bought some ginger shortbread.
Oh.
Because when I did the panna cotta for the Italian dinner, I bought pistachio shortbread to serve with it.
I can get into that.
Yeah. And I love shortbread. That McTavish, I think it's called McTavish shortbread. is the best. And I think even Met Market has their own also.
Well, if it's as good as their cookie,
Yeah. Oh, you mean that chocolate chip cookie?
the cookie,
Yeah.
yeah, it's real good.
So I'm going to try to just,
Just a quick dice there.
yeah.
I like it. Now, pairing dinners, is this something that you do on a regular basis? Is accessible by the general audience?
Not really. When I had my restaurants, I used to own a restaurant called Stink, which people always raise an eyebrow or two, which is totally understandable. But we sort of specialized in cheese and meats, and believe it or not, I love really stinky wine. Some of the wines from France, from southern France, have this distinct barnyard aroma, and they don't taste like barnyard, but they sure smell like a barnyard.
That's interesting.
But it's like cheese. You know, have you ever smelled stinky cheese and went, oh my gosh, that's disgusting? And then you taste it and you're like, oh my God, that's so good.
So good.
It's the same with wine. Even some Sauvignon Blancs from New Zealand smell like cat pee.
Oh.
I'm not kidding.
What would cause that aroma in a wine?
There's all sorts of factors, you know, and especially in New Zealand you get that, and I think it's because of the climate, and I think the soil, the more minerality that you have in the soil. In like I said, I'm studying for my CSW, and it is really hard. They go through, you know, appellations, they go through chemistry of why does this smell happen, why does this, you know, it's this chemical reaction. It's like taking chemistry in high school again, and I'm not real happy about it.
That doesn't sound fun at all.
No, it's not. It's more information than you ever want to know.
We have a question.
Just mentioning the CSW, how is that different from the sommelier test?
So sommelier is more, well, it starts out, it's level 1 sommelier it's more geared toward the restaurant industry. So if you're going to be a wine steward in a restaurant, because there's a lot of presentation involved, a lot of, you know, learning about glassware and what glasses to use for certain wines. It's not quite as detailed until you start getting into the level 3 sommelier courses or master sommelier, which, you know, again, I think wine should be fun, and learning all these things, I don't necessarily want to, but I need to, and because I like the fun of wine. I love wine, and sometimes when you get into the details of things, it kind of takes away from it, I think. But, you know, I'm doing it. It's super interesting. It's really interesting. But, yeah, there is a distinction. Some people have both. But I'm really no longer interested in being in the restaurant business anymore, so it's not really my thing.
Do you think that's something you'll change your mind about one day?
I hope not. I really. Yes, there are designated people. That's my sister. They're going to take me into a room and pummel me if I
We're
ever
gonna have
want
an
to open
intervention.
an intervention, a restaurant intervention, because this is my second one, and you know it's in your blood. I'm not gonna lie.
It's true.
It's in your blood, and I have to find something to inoculate that, because it's hard. It's stressful. My blood pressure was off the charts.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's a wonderful thing. Oops, we got a little peeler. It's a wonderful thing, but it's hard. It's really, really hard. And you have to live it. And if you have a family, and, you know, it's difficult. I have a full-grown son, so that really didn't impact it very much, but I have a very, very, very understanding husband. So, sugar. I believe this is 1.5. There we go. 1.5 tablespoons. And I love these little mise en place, you know.
I was just going to comment. They're beautiful.
Yeah. It's kind of fun and very helpful to have your ingredients pre-done, so then you just have to just toss it in there.
Yeah.
So half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And here's where, like I said, just a pinch of salt, maybe 2, because I like salt.
Just a little bit.
But you don't want it too salty, though. That's
I might be a complete weirdo, but I feel like I would probably add some cayenne pepper to this.
you could do that.
Just a fan of the heat, even in my dessert.
Well, and you know, when I was asked to do this, I wanted to incorporate, you know, some rosemary in it, because I love rosemary, and I have this rosemary plant in front of my house that I have to like take like 10 pounds off of it every summer, because it grows like a weed.
Yeah, they grow like crazy.
It is crazy, and it's right by my front door, which is lovely. You walk in and smell rosemary. So you could probably chop this up pretty finely if you wanted to, and add it. But I stumbled on this fun little place down in Lacey a couple weeks ago. It's called Salish Seas Liqueurs, and they have like, I don't know, 20, 25 different liqueurs, crazy, like sage and jasmine, and they make them all organic. Some of them have some residual, like there's a little bit of, you know, residual funk down here. And I was super fascinated by this rosemary. And so I thought, you know, I'm making this recipe. I think I'm going to add some of this rosemary liqueur to it. And it'll burn off, so. And I said 1 teaspoon, but I prefer 2, so I'm going to go for it.
Do it.
It's pretty strong smelling, so at the end, if you want to take a little smell of that.
Give that a whiff.
But again, bringing that savory component into the sweetness and the fruitiness, and like I said, the only thing I'm probably lacking is that crunch, which now I'm kind of regretting I should have bought those ginger snap cookies, or shortbread cookies. So.
But that's a good idea for anyone that wants to kind of add a little texture to their goodies, nuts, cookies.
Yeah, I think some nuts could be good. Like I love pistachios. I think those would be good. I think,
Yes.
but I think you're right. The pumpkin seeds could, like a roasted pumpkin seed would be pretty tasty on that. So yeah.
Getting some beautiful aromas out here.
Are you getting that? So yeah, so you just keep this going till it gets a nice kind of golden brown color, and then those pears get a little bit soft. Yeah. It smells like pie.
Yes.
Just, I think it's the rosemary
Feeling
kind of gives it
festive.
that, yeah.
And would you put this on the panna cotta while it's still warm, or would you chill it first?
They suggest that you take panna cotta out and leave it to get to room temperature. I don't think you necessarily have to get it down to room temperature, but I don't think you want to eat it icy cold either. I think it's nice when it's just kind of medium cold. So I think that this would be good at room temperature rather than hot. I don't think you'd want to serve it hot.
Perfect.
So that's why I've got this. I don't know. Oops, there we go.
Simmering away there.
That's all right. I've got this spoon. This might be still a little bit cold. But yeah, that's the finished product of that.
Get a
So it's
peek
pretty
at that
close.
from up above.
So it's pretty close. Yeah. I pre-did it because I wasn't sure how much time I would get through.
It's always good to just come ready.
And
Cooking show magic.
you can also do it this way as well. These are large muffin tins, so you can put them I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, there we go, up above shot
Yeah.
there. Excellent.
And these will, you can either put them in like in a little bit of warm water and they'll pop out, or you can use a knife and just kind of go around the edges.
Do they ease out pretty easily?
Yeah.
I feel like I might butcher them if I tried that.
You might want to try the warm water method. Because the warm water method will it'll just separate them, and then you just kind of go bloop.
Bloop. You have that impeccable form to it. Although I do really like the idea of using those fun little dishes and interesting presentation for something
Yeah,
like
pull
that.
out your fun holiday, dishes.
Entertain.
Can you smell that? Anybody? Yeah. And panna cotta is also really fun too. Like if you do it in this form, or I guess you could do it in that form, where you could do like a layer of something on top, like either, maybe some caramel, or I don't know, you could probably just do chocolate, or like a fruit preserve or something like that.
Yes.
Again, making sure that you try not to get the panna cotta too sweet, depending on the topping that you're going to use, because the panna cotta should, again, be refreshing. It's like I said, it's like creme brulee in its own way. It just doesn't have eggs in it. And you probably could, if you're lactose intolerant, I would think that you couldn't use soy milk, or you could use almond milk or something. I think it's just you'd have to maybe play with it a little bit to make sure that it sets up. I don't know why it wouldn't with the gelatin. So, and I was so mad, by the way. So I went to buy this box, and I went to Fred Meyer by my house, and they were out. And I was just like, no.
Who's buying up all the gelatin?
I know. So I had to drive to the other Fred Meyer, and fortunately they had boxes and boxes of them. And I'm like, transfer it over to the one on 19th and Stevens, please.
Driving around to Fred Meyer's.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions in the audience?
So I'm going to take this off for now. Yeah, any questions? And open.
We're just in awe of the aromas.
I'm going to
Good
let
stuff.
that.
I think next year we should get a fan on the stage. Just blow it our way.
There you go. Bring more people in, blow it out.
Yeah. Lure them in.
Yeah. So I think I'm. Are these from back there? There were sample.
Oh, yes. Let's get.
Yeah.
Okay, we got it all set up. We are ready for samples.
Yeah, if you're interested in that.
Are there any final thoughts then? How are we feeling?
I'm going to do this.
Oh, we have a question here.
Yes.
So if you didn't have the rosemary liqueur, how much of the rosemary did you,
You
want
know-
to put in the pears? Just a small sprig? Chop it
I
up really
wouldn't
fine?
do a lot, because rosemary is one of those herbs that's really strong. Oh, thank you. And really, really strong. And so I would chop it up pretty finely, and then as that butter is simmering, throw it in with the butter, and just let that kind of simmer, and then add the apples. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, because I know not everybody's going to drive down to Lacey and pick this up, but I think
I might
Stadium
be.
Thriftway has some of them. I don't know how many. She told me that they carry 3 or 4 of these there, and they're not bad. I mean, I think they go a long way. And she actually said this would be very good in caramelizing chicken or even some beef.
Ooh.
And that kind of made me kind of go, oh, okay.
Got some ideas. We have another question in the front
Yeah.
here. I'm coming up. I'm sneaking by Chris.
So, Chris, this is obviously being pumpkin. It's kind of a fall,
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving-ish type thing. What could you do to change it towards a Christmas type dessert, if you could? I don't know.
Well, I wonder if you could do cranberry, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Eggnog,
Peppermint.
yeah,
Oh,
totally.
eggnog.
Actually, I did stumble across some eggnog panna cotta. Yes, and I thank you for bringing that up. I almost did that. Oh, if you want to
Yes,
start,
there's
yeah,
your
if you wanna
dairy.
start
Instead of that
dipping-
pumpkin creamer,
Yes.
little eggnog.
Yes.
Ooh, can we get a shot of
Or
that
you
cute
could
little
do
martini
something like that.
glass there?
Yes, there you go. I don't know.
There it is.
Sorry, I moved it
presentation. Let's give it up for Chef
this
Chris.
way.
A
So
thing
yeah,
of
that's just
beauty.
kind of a. And there you go. And I'll start.
I love it. We eat with our eyes.
Should I use the warm version? I think I will.
Thank you, Chris, so much
Absolutely.
for presenting a delectable little dessert. Let's give it up for Chef Chris again.
Thank you.
And she has recipes and samples ready for you.
I do. They're in the back. I have recipes. I just have to grab them. Oh, they're back there. Can you like fold them and tear them in half? I just didn't have enough paper.
I'll be home for Christmas. You can plan on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents by the tree. Christmas Eve will find me where the love light gleams. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Maria, gratia plena, Maria, gratia plena, Ave, Ave Dominus, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus Ventri tue Ave in hora mortis nostrae, in hora mortis nostrae. Ave A donde sea que yo esté, tu corazón alcanzaré y una sonrisa en tu mirada pintaré.
No habrá distancia entre los dos, al viento volaré mi voz. Con mis deseos a tu alma llegaré.
Feliz Navidad, feliz Navidad, feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad, feliz Navidad, feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart.
Feliz Navidad, feliz Navidad, feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad, feliz Navidad, feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad.
I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart.
Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad,
Love and joy.
Feliz Navidad,
I want to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Navidad, 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 Navidad. Ay, 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 ay,
I wish you all the love and joy.
all the love and joy, my life. Feliz Navidad,
I wish you love and joy. And no one ever can destroy the love I got from you in the heart of mine.
felicidad.
Oh, love and joy. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. This is Michael Bublé, wishing you a very Merry Christmas. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look at the 5 and 10. It's glistening once again with candy canes and silver lanes that glow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store. But the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door. A pair of hop-along boots and a pistol that shoots is the wish of Barney and Ben. Dolls that'll talk and will go for a walk is the hope of Janice and Jen. And Mom and Dad can hardly wait for school to start again. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. There's a tree in the Grand Hotel, one in the park as well. It's the sturdy kind that doesn't mind the snow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Soon the bells will start, and the thing that'll make them ring is the carol that you sing right within your heart. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store. But the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door. Sure, it's Christmas once more. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I am telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list, he's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping, and he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I am telling you why. 'Cause Santa Claus is coming to town. Oh, let's go! You when you're sleeping, and he knows when you're awake, and he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming, I mean the big fat man with the long white beard. He's coming to town. Merry Christmas, ladies.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Bublé.
Are you ready to sing a little Jingle Bells?
Yes.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. All the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what a lot of fun to ride and sing in a one-horse open sleigh.
Dashing through the snow,
We are dashing
in a one-horse open sleigh.
one-horse sleigh.
All the fields we go,
All the fields we go,
laughing all the way.
all the way.
Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. Oh, what fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is horse open, oh, what fun. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells. Oh, what fun in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know.
Testing, testing, test, test.
Where the trees
Yeah, sounding good here.
glisten and the children listen.
Oh, chef? Okay, yes, that's me.
to hear
I'm the
sleigh
tea chef.
bells in the snow. The snow said I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days, may your days, may your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white
Christmas, with every Christmas card I write.
May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days
I don't have any power. I blew power.
and bright.
That one. I think it just ruined this one.
And may all your Christmases
Technical difficulties.
be white.
It's this one.
Don't want a lot for Christmas. There's just one thing I need. I don't care about those presents
No.
underneath the Christmas tree. See, I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make make my wish come true.
Okay.
You know that all I want for Christmas is you.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you today? We
Great.
are great. Thank you. Usually people just get real quiet and look at me awkwardly. Let's give a nice warm welcome to LaDonna Olmsted, the tea madam.
Hello.
LaDonna, what are we doing today?
We're going to steep some loose leaf tea, and I'm going to show you what it is, what loose leaf tea is, and what it's not, and how to do it, and how you would take it home, and prepare it for yourself.
Beautiful. Impart your wisdom upon us.
I guess that's what you call it. All right. So my name's LaDonna Olmsted. I'm the tea madam. I've been in this business for about 14 years. I import and blend my own teas. Loose leaf tea is a much different experience than a tea bag, which is much more commercially produced product, or this is more artisanally produced in historical ways to preserve the integrity of the tea leaf, which sounds a little long, but that's kind of what that means. And in fact, specialty tea is not even the same industry as commercially produced teas. And so to me, it's the difference between wine in a box and a fine wine in a bottle. You do just have to know how to use that wine key or wine opener to open up that bottle of wine, and then you're good to go and can open any bottle of wine after that. So today we're going to try 4 teas. We're going to have a white tea and a green tea, an oolong tea, and then a dark tea. So we're going to have 4 to choose from. I'm steeping right now and preparing my water.
And is there a reason why we start from the lightest to the darkest?
If you started with the darkest, then your palate would be already kind of looking for that depth in the next tea that you would try. And so you do always kind of do them in order, so the lightest to the darkest, so that you can taste the subtle differences in the more body in subsequent teas. So I guess that sounds complicated. So first I'm going to do a jasmine pearls, and sorry I'm a little behind on this. My water wasn't quite ready, and anybody that I will explain the water part, but it's one of the most important parts in preparing the tea is the proper water temperature. And the first tea we're actually going to try, I'm going to start preparing it now by weighing it. And tea is done by volume here in the U.S., but truly all tea is done by weight. And so I weighed every single one of these, and I'm going to do that right in front of you. This is called a little gram scale. And you just put 3 grams of leaf per 8-ounce cup of water. And so I have them.
It feels like a very exact science to enjoy your tea properly.
It is, and you'll even, hear people say, "Oh, my aunt made the best pot of tea." That's because she knew those few rules that there are. So it's how much you use is going to tell you whether it's too light, too dark, bitter, that type of thing, or just right. This one, I'm putting 12 grams of leaf inside my little pot here. And this is an infuser, and I'm going to use a few different types of infusers. And this one I put water in that's not quite boiling. It's about 180 degrees. And so this is a white tea. And white teas are very temperature sensitive, so it's just one that you really don't put boiling water on. It preserves the greenness without letting the bitter emit from the leaves. And so certain types of teas are just a little misunderstood just because we missteep them. Sorry. There we go. So white tea is the least processed of all the teas. Originally, it was the first tea, plucked by hand, withered in the sun, and dried, period. No heat was introduced to it to start or stop oxidation, which sounds scientific, and in fact, that's exactly what tea science is the science behind what makes a white to a green to an oolong. So this is called a jasmine pearl tea, and pearls mean it's literally in the shape of a pearl. And you can pass these around so people can actually smell a scented tea. Scented tea has been done for centuries, and originally from China, which all the 5 types of tea there are originated in China, so they are responsible for inventing all of them. And so I have the utmost respect for them. This jasmine pearl is from northern Fujian province, Fujian County, and this is a bud, so that's a unopened leaf in the tea world. It's not a flower, and it has 2 leaves that's withered, so that becomes pliable, and then they literally roll it into a pearl. And this is done in the very, very first of spring. Sorry, I'm not good at this part.
The aromas in this tea.
Okay, so many Americans believe that they don't really care for floral teas because they can taste a little bit like perfume. And generally speaking, those are going to be the more commercially produced ones that are literally sprayed with a perfume-like matter, as opposed to being subjected to freshly plucked kind of wet aromatic jasmine flowers. So it really does make a big difference on, whoops, that's the wrong thing, on what you get and what the taste is in your mouth, whether it's done traditionally, historically, or whether it's done in the quick, cheaper manner, which is spraying things on the teas, which is kind of done widely today. Jasmine, this is first of spring, this is actually prepared. And then the autumn picked jasmine flowers come out in about August. So these are stored and wrapped in little tissue paper. And this actually creates them, or makes them a little drier than normal. And what it does is creates little sponges. So tea is something called hygroscopic, which means it absorbs other compounds from things around it. So they unwrap the little pearls in the fall, and they dump truckloads of those wet jasmine flowers right on top of the pearls, and the pearls absorb all the aromatic compounds actually in the flowers. And so those are imparted or infused multiple times to create this nice, heady, sweet jasmine aroma. And then they're actually done. So this is, many people like the kind of jasmine tea at the Chinese restaurant. This one's much more aroma and less body. This is a white tea, so it's very, very light. You'll see that there's a lack of color actually in the liquor or the tea itself. And that really is just based on its lack of chlorophyll, which is what this one has in it. So it's a premature leaf that actually lacks that compound in the tea leaf. So it doesn't have that green vegetal nature. It's much more softer. Let me do this one real quick. This one. So you'll see that how this one, they're varying colors greatly. This is a white or clear. And then here's a green tea with that bright, vibrant green. And then this one is almost an orange cognac color. That's an oolong. So each tea is going to actually... The stove is yelling at me.
It has some thoughts. It's being ignored this hour.
All right. Yes, this is the cooking part that is not the cooking part. All right. So white tea to me is the best one that I can explain that doesn't have that vegetal nature with all the compounds that green tea has. So if you're not a big green tea fan and don't like the vegetal part, then I believe a white tea is a lot of times going to be really satisfactory. It's very light in body, so you're not going to expect a whole lot of mouthfeel, which means the texture inside your mouth, but it does have a nice satisfying taste. And if you like something that's kind of fresh and clean, this is definitely one that I would recommend.
And a very important question in my mind, and maybe yours, are any of these caffeinated?
All teas from the tea plant are caffeinated. So all the 4 that we're actually going to try today are caffeinated actual tea plant. Okay, that smells delicious. I'm going to have to try this one myself. This is one of my favorite teas. And you'll just notice a nice, light, thin, it's white tea's light, delicate, airy. It was reserved for emperors for many years. In fact, it's only the top of the plant, so it's only picked one time a year, and it is on the more expensive scale for tea. But to be honest, the tea leaves that I just steeped, I can steep those again and get another pot and again and get another pot and again and get another pot. So you actually get more out of these types of teas. So up front they may cost a bit more, but they do give you more back. This is the lightest type, and I see a couple gentlemen like, kind of tastes like flowery water. And jasmine white tea actually can do that. Each one is supposed to taste different. And everybody has a different palate, and here in Washington, white tea is the hardest for me to kind of let people get across, because we're coffee drinkers. That's a 10 in body. This is a zero point 0.1 in body, and so you're looking for those flavor compounds in it. And so for me, I know what I'm looking for, therefore I'm not disappointed. But if you're a big coffee drinker and then you try Jasmine Pearls, a lot of times it's okay. And it just, everybody has their own needs and wants in their palate. Excuse me.
Just passing this beautiful little tea around so everyone can get a little sip.
But it's not bitter, and so that's the big deal about white tea. If it's prepared properly in the right temperature water, then most certainly isn't bitter. That bitter note does not come out of the stem. So it's just a light and soft and delicate. To me, drinkable all day.
Is there one more in there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I could steep it again too. How many? Oh, just. All right, so the next type of tea we're going to talk about is green tea. Green tea has more body. So each tea that we're going to have is going to have a little bit more body than the last. This is a Chinese hand-produced green tea. I'm going to stir this one. And this is a pan-fired tea, which means it is withered by hand, or is withered, and then it is rolled. And when you roll a tea leaf, you rupture the cell structure in the tea leaf, and the enzymes within the leaf mix together and create complexity and character. And so from that point, that tea can be green tea or black tea or oolong tea. It's what you do with it after the manipulation that way. And so for green tea, it's heated immediately. That stops the browning effect of the tea. And the browning effect is called oxidation. And the easiest way for me to explain that is an apple. If I bite into an apple, I ruptured that cell structure, and the enzymes in that apple are mixing together. And with the oxygen on the counter, that turns brown. That's what black tea is. It is that same tea leaf that they ruptured and then allowed to turn brown with oxygen with no heating happening to it at all. That's what creates black tea. And green tea is that same leaf that doesn't sit on the counter, but instead is heated in some manner to stop the oxidation. So there's no time that elapses between the crushing and the heating. So it's considered 0% oxidized tea, green tea. There's a few different references to it, but that's what creates this green instead of brown. Oolong tea is somewhat oxidized. So you'll see that this has a little orange on it, like if I bit into an apple and chewed on it a little and then put it into the oven in about 15 minutes, it still has a little bit of brown to it, and so it's an in-between green and black tea. So the green tea we're going to try is called Goji pomegranate blueberry green tea. So did anybody like the jasmine? It's nice when somebody's explaining what to look for in that cup when you're actually drinking it. It is delicious, but when you take it at home, it seems a little airy because you're not used to that subtle, delicate part of the tea.
Yeah, we're so used to that black Lipton tea.
That's right. Yeah, close to 90% of the tea consumed in the United States market today is black, and about 85% of that is iced. And so jasmine tea is just not something you really do iced because that kind of takes away that already subtle character it possesses. So this is Chinese pan-fired green tea. So pan-firing actually creates a little toastiness and nuttiness to it as opposed to a fresh-cut lawn appeal, and I think we all know what that tastes like. This has whole goji berries, pomegranate, and blueberries, along with a little bit of lemongrass, which always kind of brightens up the berry appeal. This, again, is another one that you can steep again. So these leaves swell up quite a bit, but they're whole leaves, and you just keep this in your infuser and hit it with water again, and you can make another pot. And then another pot as long as you still like it. So more quality teas are actually going to give you a little bit more in that way, where generally people think that black tea is less expensive than others, and by the ounce or by the pound, which how it's sold, it is. But your yield is higher with certain types of teas. So therefore per cup, if you know how to prepare them properly, they actually can be much, much more economical than a black tea. So I can get 30 or 40 cups of tea from 1 ounce of the jasmine pearls that I passed around, where a black tea I would get about 10 cups from 1 ounce.
That's a huge difference.
It is, and you just have to put water on it. And if you don't like it that steep, then fine, you got the other ones. It's preference at the end of the day, but it doesn't cost anything to put more water on it. It's a little time and effort, and then it really does reward you. And I was in the wine industry for quite some time, and I tell people now that if I bought a fine bottle of wine and we drank it, and I could fill it up full of water and make another bottle of wine, would I do that? Well, who wouldn't do that?
Yes.
And so this is really no different. It's really doing what it's supposed to do. So culturally, significantly, historically, these are made to be steeped again and again. So it's really important. 5 more. All right.
Is everyone getting the nice little berry aromas in there?
And for green tea, this is even on the lighter side too, but they don't have to be stiff and grassy or kelpy. Some can actually come across that way. There are many, many different types of green teas, and they have different finishes based on how they're created and heated. So Japan has steamed green teas, and these have a real high tendency of have a really high chlorophyll, and that's the vegetal part in tea. And then it's steamed, so that kind of intensifies the greenness, much like if you had asparagus and you steamed it, as opposed to taking asparagus and putting it on your grill and roasting it. That actually creates complexity, toasty, different compounds and characteristics in the tea. And in China, they only pan fire tea, so it's literally hot fired. And so that's why Japanese and Chinese green teas are vastly, vastly different in taste and texture. And so for me, I just prefer the complexity behind the Chinese style.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite tea among all the teas that you have available?
Here or in the world?
Just in the world, like of the ones that somebody could find at your shop.
Oolong tea is my favorite type of tea in the world. And I would say 95% of most tea professionals that are in it, you have to respect the way it's done. It is Chinese restaurant tea for the most part, where it's not green tea, it's not black tea either. It's somewhere in between, but it kind of has this chestnut honeysuckleness. Green tea is fairly easy to make. You heat it after you crush it and after it's withered. So you can steam it, heat it in any way, and then you can roll it up. And then black tea, yes, it's the apple that sat there and got brown. Oolong is somewhere in between. It's a percentage of oxidation. So it takes a tea master to actually create this tea at an 18% oxidation, 18% of what black tea would be. And so the respect behind replicating a tea day in and day out is of the highest regard. I mean, I am like, oh, my tea. Like, I'm a total geek. This next tea that we're going to try is called coconut oolong. And this is a Grand Pouchong leaf from Taiwan. It's from Alishan, Taiwan. And it's called the Grand Pouchong leaf, so I'm trying not to make too much noise with this. It has to be 1.5 inches long on the plant before it's plucked. So it's literally graded while it's still on the plant. That's a very rare thing. So normally it's graded after it's produced. So there it has to be that. It's a Grand Pouchong. And Taiwan is, you will hear about oolong being some of the most highly regarded or teas from Taiwan. Taiwan is 80 miles away, basically across water from northern Fujian province, which is with the birthplace of oolong. And so Taiwan is formerly known as Formosa, and you could look up oolong right now and you'll see that word Formosa all over about the best oolongs in the world. This one is unique. The family that actually owns this tea farm owns a coconut farm that is actually next door. And so while they're drying those leaves, they mix this one with coconut milk.
I love it.
And so this is a very nice, creamy experience. Again, lighter in body. This is a lighter style one. Not all teas kind of hit you upside the head. I mean, there's a place for those. That one's coming next.
So tea, madam, how long have you been studying tea? And how much homework do you give yourself?
Well, you don't call it homework if you like it, right? So
that's true.
History or whatever. I mean, I love that. I kind of feed on that, and that's what makes the difference between it being a passion and a job, I guess. You know, I was in the wine industry for a long time. I found this store, it was up for sale, and I knew I can do that. I knew a few things about tea. My mom lived in Okinawa for many years prior to me being born, and so I knew that in the early 70s, driving to Seattle to get green tea out of the back door of a restaurant because you couldn't find it in the grocery store. And it was just one of those things that I kind of knew even then that there was a difference between them and, you know, but what is this Lipton box? So I bought a tea store and started going to school for tea, the Specialty Tea Institute, because if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well, and I want to know everything. I'm just that kind of person. And so I started learning about tea, and I will study for the rest of my life. I honestly read every book I can get my hands on. And good, bad, or some are not the best, but hey, I will read them all. There's
Just
a kernel of
dig
good
in.
in all of them. Yeah, I think it's fun to learn and fairly inexpensive, and 51 countries produce tea, so it's kind of a never-ending experience or
Absolutely.
discovery.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite tea book that you refer to often?
There is one, and it's thick. It's called The Book of Tea, and it's hard to find, but Mary Lou Heiss, it's about, I mean, it's a 2 inches hardback book, but I have read that book probably 20 times. I have a couple hundred tea books, and I've read them all. Some worth reading multiple times, others scanning through quickly and realizing they're all just scone recipes, but you never know. It says tea on the side. I'm going to buy that book. Did anybody like that one? The coconut oolong?
No, we have some hands. It's one of my personal favorites. We have a question up here in the front.
When you re-steep the leaves, there's no mold that grows on there in the meantime?
Well, you don't preserve them for tomorrow. It's, you know, the next repeatedly. So I hit this with water right now, make another pot, do it with water again. So though, if you look at it in the way that history is, the Gong Fu tea ceremony is the Chinese tea ceremony. They steep the same leaves in a little teeny tiny pot. They stuff that pot, and they steep the same leaves 7 times. And so short 30-second steeps, but each one right after the other. So there's nothing in tea to, you know, stop mold or spore from growing. So I would never put this in my refrigerator tomorrow and steep it again, because frankly, it will taste different. So think of it in the way that in the American way, we make this huge pot of tea, and then we really want, oh, it could be steeped again, so let's reserve it for tomorrow, where in China, their teapots are this big. So they make tiny amounts to make sure you get every penny out of your tea. So to me, buy a small pot and steep it over and over and over and over, and then that way you don't have to reserve it. So, all right.
Great question. Oh, we have another one over here.
So would you repeatedly steep the tea and then maybe save it aside that you could reheat it later as tea versus, I mean, would that take away the quality, do you think?
Not the quality, but the taste a little bit. And it's never going to taste, each steep tastes a little bit different, and that's kind of why they steep the tea over and over, to kind of revel in the differences. What I do, to be absolutely honest, instead of steeping it, putting it in my refrigerator, and then heating it tomorrow for another cup, what I do is I make ice cubes out of it. And then I put it in a little baggie, and I write tropical green tea ice cubes. And then when my friend comes over and I make a plain, just straight up black iced tea, then I get my refrigerator. I'm like, oh, do you want orange creamsicle ice cubes, or do you want tropical green tea ice cubes? And so these ice cubes don't dilute your beverages. It just adds, but you're not wasting it. You can put it in smoothies. So there's a lot of different things you can actually do with it outside of something that maybe it's not going to taste as good. So I kind of do it that way. I probably should have some people over some iced tea, because I think I have a couple dozen types in my freezer right now.
Hoarding some for a party.
I don't throw anything away.
Do you have a favorite thing that you like to pair with teas? Little snack or meal?
I personally drink teas that I can eat with anything. And so there's some that flavored certain ways that are actually going to go better with like maybe a vanilla cookie or maybe with an entree. I like more neutral types of teas that, I was just eating a donut from the original House of Donuts over there, and it went really well with my oolong. And so I find that, I think there's many different things out there that you can do it that way. So I think it's time of day more than food pairings. There are tea pairings where there are tea sommeliers now that actually do tea and food pairings, and that I haven't really cracked into that as much. But yeah, it's very interesting, and see that's another 10 years of studying, right?
There you go. More studying. It's not homework.
Yeah, not homework.
Delving
no.
into the passion.
No, of course not. Okay. Let me pour this one.
But at your tea shop, you do classes for those who want to maybe dabble.
We do tea tasting courses, and it's not afternoon tea. We don't have scones or cookies, which I think surprised people at first. But the fact is it's more like a wine tasting. You learn about the country, the history, the origin. What is white tea? What does it mean? What should I look for? Why are they selling that to me? Why are they? What's this about? But more about the history behind it and why it looks like that, why it tastes like that, and a discovery of what you're going to like. Everybody's going to like something different. And I always say, in this room right now, every single person has a different idea of what tea is to them. And it's based on their history, their culture, their family, who they grew up with, who, foreign exchange student, whatever. We all have this idea of what that is. And it's unique to the individual. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to know how to really be able to prepare a fine quality one and recognize one when you see it. And questions you should be asking your vendor. I kind of say that we're kind of like a fishmonger, where you really don't want to buy too much. You want to keep it fresh. You want to go and say, hey, what do you have right now? What is on special? Some of these teas are very rare. They're not widely available on a daily basis. Some are stuff behind the counter, and you have to ask for what's new, and then I'll whip out the green tea I just got that's so awesome. And so you kind of have to, it's like that. But the weird thing about tea shops is that a fishmonger, if they're not selling a lot of fish, you walk in there and you can smell it and you can tell that. And a tea shop, you can't.
Yeah,
so you really have to go by the person and the questions and answers that they're giving you to the questions you're giving them to really know whether they know what they're talking about with tea.
So what tea are we sampling right now?
This is a fermented green tea called pu'er, and it traditionally looks like something like this, which is a cake, which is a fermented green tea compressed cake that's aged. And so this literally is one of the most historically significant teas, being the reason behind the Tea Horse Road in China. This is from one place. One town creates this. 9 processing centers make this. And it's overly wet green tea that they compress into a cake to preserve the integrity of the leaf. And it's aged, and actually it has something called a start put in this one, which is kind of like a sourdough start, where you start with a little bit of sourdough, you put the ingredients, and then all of a sudden you have your sourdough, and then you take off a little piece and use that in a recipe, and then you have this, and that's kind of where this is from. This type of tea, if you like darker beverages, this is technically green tea, so whatever green tea does for you, this also does, but now it's fermented and your body does kind of absorb it very, very efficiently. But it has a nice, smooth, dark richness that green tea doesn't have, so it lacks the vegetal part, and it's not temperature sensitive like the green tea, and it has a nice depth and smoothness. And so if you want to get more antioxidants, you keep hearing about green tea, this is a really viable option. I feel like people here, those coffee drinkers, really do like this one. This one was a roasted vanilla almond or caramel almond.
Ooh. I love it. How do we like that one?
A little smoother. That one you could steep over and over, and to be honest, you could steep that one for 20 minutes until you can't see through it. And so in China, they call this one black tea. So we kind of misnamed a few of the teas. This in China is called dark tea, fermented tea, or black tea. And actual black tea that we know here, Lipton, that is called hongcha, or red tea, because the color in your cup. So we kind of haven't recognized this type of tea here very often. And in fact, 13 years ago when I bought the tea shop, there was a little tin of this stuffed in the closet. And I said, "What is that?" And she's like, "Oh, you can't sell that. Nobody's going to want that." I'm like, "What is it?" She's like, "Yeah." Like, she didn't want to talk about it. And I don't know if that's why she couldn't sell it, because she didn't know what it was. But when you have something that looks like a cow patty, you should probably figure out what it is, because you're never going to be able to sell the cow patty.
No. By looks alone, I don't think it was like, yeah, I want some of that.
And I really would like to have this passed out. You could look at this. This is whole big leaves. This is not like compressed powder, which would be poor quality. This is whole beautiful leaves that are grown in Yunnan province, and Yunnan province is one of the oldest tea producing provinces in China, and this is from one mountain range from there, and from the Longhe Tea Factory, which is one of the 9 prestigious tea factories that produce pu'er today. This is literally the rarest type of tea there is. That is a 12-year-old brick. And the older they get, the more expensive they get. And you can see bricks or cakes or binchas that are 50, 60 years old that can be $10,000, $20,000. And in China, there are pu'er collectors that have caves that keep their pu'er bincha there because it's at the correct humidity and temperature, much like a humidor, but for tea. And much like many wine caves exist as well that actually keep the temperature at a very stable temperature and humidity as well.
So how would you store that at home?
I personally, this one, I go to a pizza shop and like Mod Pizza, and they have these perfect little square boxes that are cardboard, and they're the perfect size for that. And you don't put them in plastic or anything like that. You kind of let them breathe so that they continue to mature. But that cardboard box is going to actually absorb any compounds before it gets to the pu'er cake. And so I collect pu'er. I have many different cakes, and once a year we take our little pizza boxes out, and they have like a little journal on the outside. It'll have the date. It'll say, slightly green and astringent, buds are still white, you know, a description of what it tasted like last year. We shingle some off because that's kind of how you do it, and try it, and then we write it down. And then the second it's like, oh my gosh, that was amazing, that's when you crack that thing open and you drink it all year long. So it continues to change, and so that's kind of the history and the story behind it that makes it so interesting.
How old is your oldest that you have at home?
This one, at home?
Yeah.
15 or 16 years.
15 or 16.
But we have a few that are different shapes, and some are dome shape and melon shape and all these really cool little, they look like little candies, like Andes candies, little wrapped ones, and it's very interesting. And I had a lady come to our booth yesterday and say that an exchange student had come several years ago, but she had bestowed upon her a chest that had 3 cakes in it that were all wrapped in tissues and silk and all this, and she didn't know what it was. But of course, again, they kind of look like a cow patty, so you get a bunch of cow patties from lady, you don't even know what it is. So she's going to bring it in so I could show her how to use it. But she's like, is it still good? I'm like, oh, it's better. Oh my gosh, 5 years ago, that's really good.
It's
okay, yeah, keep on those. Yeah.
Do we have any questions here in the audience? Yeah?
So when you're using the cow patty, for lack of do you just chip off a piece of it then and use it in your normal infuser like you're doing with the leaves?
Right, yeah.
And then
And
in the
so
same quantity also?
It's
Similar
3
quantity?
grams of leaf, regardless of the type. So whether it's a little pearl or if it's a loose leaf or it's a little chunk, it's always 3 grams per 8-ounce cup of water. So for this one, bincha is actually not just mixed pieces of leaf that are this way. They're piled on each other. So you shingle off from the side. So I use something called a pu'er knife, but you can use an oyster shucker or something with a little point. You don't want to crush up the leaves. I don't want to make a mess. So you can actually do it where they're whole leaves that come out.
Interesting.
I'm going to stab myself, I'm pretty sure. Okay,
Don't
there
stab
we go.
yourself.
See, so it's still whole leaves. You don't want to crush it up or put it in a spice blender. You want to keep it, that whole leaf, intact. The stems within that leaf have the bitter compounds, so you keep those intact. So, but you just chunk off a little piece, and it makes it easy. So these are perfectly round. They're about 12 ounces. And so 1 ounce of this, I can get 30 cups. So, I mean, these really produce a huge amount of tea, 360 cups. That's a cup a day for a year.
Wow.
And then, over and over, Steve, however you want to do it. So, but very interesting. And you can actually smell it more than where I actually did if you want to smell that one. So that one's actually kind of interesting.
I love it. And LaDonna, where can we find you to pick your brains some more about tea or get our hands on some?
Well, here I do have a booth at the very end of this row underneath the Budweiser sign. We have about 60 teas with us. We do have 2 brick and mortar stores in Pierce County. We have one in Sumner we've had for 14 years at the Windmill Gardens Nursery. And we have one in Lakewood on Stillicum Boulevard as well. And so all we do is bulk loose leaf teas. We do tea tasting courses that $5, try 15, learn about what it is and where your palate lies, and then that way you can kind of just have an educated forward path in your tea world.
I love it. Thank you, LaDonna. Let's give it up for
Thank
the tea
you so
madam.
much.
Visit her booth today. Get some tea in your life. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you This is Michael Bublé wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
Check, check. Check, check. Mic check.
Let me
Thank
get
you.
out of the way. Hey,
Ooh, hey. I can hear you.
hello. I'm kind of filling in for a friend. E9, Engine House 9 does breakfast Saturday, Sunday. They got a really good Eggs Benedict. Yeah, yeah.
It came upon a midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold, to touch their harps of gold, to touch their harps of gold.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Cooking for the Holidays stage. We want to thank Bates Technical College for providing a live stream of all the demos this weekend, as well as Renewal Remodels and Additions for building the beautiful stage and providing note cards on everyone's seats in case you feel like you need to take some notes. Take them home. You can do that. And we'd love to give a nice warm welcome to Chef Hudson Slater, the winner of yesterday's chef competition throwdown.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
So what are you providing for us today? What are we doing?
Well, I'm going to do Eggs Benedict. It's kind of a way you can do it at home. Nice and easy blender, or you can use an immersion blender or a stand-up Vitamix type blender to make hollandaise. Kind of take the guesswork out of it. So it's just easier to use at home, and then just kind of put a quick little dish together around Benedict's, kind of a hearty brunch you could have during the holidays.
So you're telling me that hollandaise sauce is pretty easy to make?
Yes.
Okay.
Can be.
I'm looking forward to, because I've only seen just whisking and whisking and whisking.
Yeah, we're going to avoid whisking.
Okay.
No whisking involved.
Good.
So we got the butter. We're going to melt butter, separate some egg yolks, put a little acid in the egg yolks, and then just blend the butter slowly into the yolks and make our hollandaise. Set it aside, and then just kind of keep using the same pans to make the rest, to poach the eggs and sear off some ham and some veggies. And so we have our limited pan use.
I like it.
Keep dishes down to a minimum. And because nobody likes doing dishes, I know that.
No, not a single person is like, ooh, let me clean up.
Yeah. So about So 1 stick of butter at home. So this is 4 sticks of butter here, restaurant
That's a lot of
size.
butter.
So 1 stick is about 2 egg yolks. So we'll just do 4 yolks and just have this butter for later. So we're going to melt our butter in a pan,
Are we looking at salted or unsalted?
unsalted. Can always add salt when we need it. I always like to put kind of fleur de sel or a nice salt on top of anything. So you can always add salt. So we'll get this butter melting, and you can do this I just brought this clear container so you can see when we start blending what it'll look like. But you could do it in a glass jar, anything really.
Perfect.
Or if you have a blender, it's even easier. Just turn it on and slowly add it through the top.
But we're going to use the immersion blender, which is one of my favorite tools.
Yeah, it comes in handy. This is the Cuisinart. You get on Amazon. It's just got this one. It's got a whisk you can attach, or it has a food processor you can attach. And it actually comes with a cup like this with the measuring on it. It's great. I love this thing.
It's foolproof.
Yeah, so it's got the high and the low, real quiet. Okay, just kind of I'm gonna just do a little broccolini too. It's like a thin broccoli. It's kind of a fun, it's like asparagus and broccoli kind of hybrid. We're gonna do serrano ham, which is something we use quite often at asado. It's Italian, Argentinian kind of ham that's similar to prosciutto. So that's we have serrano prawns. We use it on our asado burger at asado, but we don't do breakfast at asado. Our sister restaurant E9 does a great Saturday Sunday breakfast. If you're looking for Benedict's, that's where I'd recommend going.
Absolutely.
And then we just have a ciabatta bun here. You can do the English muffin. I like to kind of change it up every once in a while, so we'll just take this and we'll put our Benedicts on these guys, and we can make croutons out of this, or just, if you got kids, just put butter on it and serve it to the kids while they're waiting. That's what my kids love to do.
Absolutely.
Bread and butter.
Bread and butter. Just let them go at it.
So we've got another pan here. We'll start heating up the ham, and we'll just cook the ham a little bit, and then we'll just add other ingredients to that same pan to kind of bring the flavors around, incorporate all the flavors together, versus having a different pan for each thing. Might as well just use the same pan. It's going to render some of the fat out. That'll cook the broccolini.
Some added flavor there.
Yeah. And then, so real quick, we're just going to do our egg yolks over here. Does anybody make eggs Benedict at their house often? Is it a holiday tradition for anyone?
Hands?
Does
No.
anybody want to make eggs Benedict at home?
I do.
All right. So hopefully you'll see this hollandaise and definitely think that you can do it, because it's pretty straightforward. So
Yeah,
you could
always
save
been
the egg
intimidated.
whites to make a nice cocktail with,
Yes.
or meringue. I think they're going to make some cakes later today. The next demo. But so if you just take the egg, you could do you can see that I'm using my hands. Or you could do
Could use the shell to transfer.
just kind of go back and forth.
Chef, have you ever seen the plastic bottle trick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't-
Google it.
I don't. Nobody's got time for that.
It's handy. I'm just saying, for someone who's really
So
looking to
then,
simplify
yeah.
things and they don't want to touch the egg.
You just wash your hands. You're at home, right?
That's right. No big deal.
Yeah. At the restaurant, we wear gloves and wash our hands often.
Yeah, there won't be any samples today.
Sorry. Unfortunately, RMA couldn't be here today, so thought I'd fill some time and hopefully answer some questions about Eggs Benedict. So we've got our eggs set aside there.
We're sticking with the breakfast theme because
Yeah.
Orame was going to talk about pancakes. But that's how we're going to go a little more savory breakfast style.
Okay, so that's the last time. We'll poach some eggs here in a minute. But we don't have to, that'll be the whole egg. But we've got our butter melting here. And then we're going to add a little lemon juice to our egg yolk. So I just usually about half a lemon for, so you do a quarter lemon for 1 stick of butter. So 1 stick of butter, 2 yolks, and then a quarter lemon. You could do a little teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. You could do a little rice vinegar or wine or white wine vinegar. I like lemon juice for this.
Could you substitute another citrus if you're feeling crazy?
You could do lime, would probably be acidic enough, but like oranges and grapefruits aren't quite as acidic.
Okay.
A lime would be kind of fun with like maybe a spicier kind of version of a.
Yeah.
So squeeze the lime juice or the lemon juice in there.
And we're doing it through your hand to keep the seeds out.
Yeah. Could use a juice press or any handy tools you might have at home for this. Okay, so we got our butter bubbling pretty good there. We're just going to do a little pinch of salt in here and a little bit of paprika. And then we'll put a little paprika on top when we're done plating this all together. All right, so we got our pan going for the ham. We're just going to kind of sear these off a little bit.
And with a nice thin meat like that, that's just going to take a quick second.
Yeah, we'll make our hollandaise and pull this out. So you could use your deli ham or the Canadian bacon is traditional. That you could use just regular bacon. You could put crab on there, smoked salmon, just really any kind of meat you'd want to do for that. Or you could just not do meat and do avocado, and spinach is a really popular one.
Heirloom tomatoes.
Heirloom tomatoes, sauteed spinach. Okay, so I'm going to leave that burner on because we're going to use that same pan to do our poached egg. So we'll kind of so the blender, the blade's on the bottom, and it'd do it quite a bit easier here. So we'll just get this going here. And then we'll just get going on high here, and we're just going to emulsify. So we're taking two things that don't usually go together very well, and we're just going to slowly add.
Got a good look at that. And will that warm butter, will that cook up those eggs?
Well, that's why you got to keep it blending here.
Okay.
So instead of whisking over a pot of boiling water, there we go.
Quiet little tool. This is way better than whisking. Oh, we have a question here, Chef.
If you're whisking, how much longer will that take?
With whisking, you'll be sweaty.
Forever.
You'll have to change your clothes. So it takes about, 20 minutes usually. 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how much you're making. So yeah, now we're done.
Just like that.
It's just dripping off.
I love it.
So you can always kind of tell if your sauce is thick enough, it drips off in 2 different areas. So if you put a spoon in and pull it up, it'll drip off on different areas. If it's a steady stream, then it might not be thick enough. So if you can kind of notice that it's falling in different areas, it's kind of a good trick if you're making like a pan sauce or something, gravy. If you can get it to drip on different areas, that means it's thick enough.
That's a pro tip. I don't think I've ever heard that
Yeah.
one.
Okay. So we'll just set this aside. Okay, so our hollandaise is done. The hardest part, the scariest part
amazing.
is done.
I think that deserves an applause right
All
there.
right, thanks.
Ooh. Now who's going to go home and make some hollandaise sauce? Yes. Went from like nobody, like they're like, no, eggs Benedict, not going to happen. I have at least one person that's like, yeah, this is doable. We can handle that.
Okay, so now we're going to poach an egg. Just the same pan. Most of the butter came out. You could rinse it out if you wanted to. I will put this on, get this boiling. We're going to use, you could use vinegar again, or you could use the same acid, the lemon juice. When you're poaching an egg, you want a little acid to keep the egg whites around the yolk. So we'll just take this other half of the lemon to get that acid in our water for poaching the egg.
So if you neglect the acid,
what will happen is the white will cook and the yolk might kind of separate, and then you have 2 different pieces of, you have the yolk and the white.
okay.
So the white kind of protects it from overcooking the yolk, because you kind of want that yolk to kind of run out over the. Okay, so we got our ham. It's nice and rendered now. We're going to add some tomatoes. I'll get a piece of paper towel. So this is pretty heavy, heavy dish. So I just want to get some veggies incorporated. You definitely don't have to do this, but it's always good to eat your veggies.
I suppose.
So with the fat that's in there, I'm just going to add some tomatoes. So this kind of just be a good way to empty the fridge, just kind of cook up any
Yeah, see what
veggies you
you've
might
got
have.
going in there.
And then we'll do some of our broccolini.
So Chef Slater, you talked about bread and butter for the kids. Do they ever eat broccolini?
They will, yeah. My kids like to eat things kind of separate. So if you don't mix too much together, they'll definitely eat their veggies. They like green beans a lot. So that's going. Turn it down just a. Oh, it's already down low. And then got the green onion. I'm going to put some of the green, chopped real fine for the top, but I'm going to use some of the white to saute. This white part is pretty much an onion, so, well, it is an onion, but it doesn't, a lot of people just kind of throw that white part away. So we're just going to use that so we don't
Lots
throw it
of
away.
flavor.
Yeah.
And are you essentially using that onion as kind of the flavor component with the sauteed veggies, or you add?
Yeah, definitely. Just sauteing it up. It's going to add the little flavor when it's salt and pepper this. You could add some fresh herbs to this, or just kind of, you could do a little wilted spinach, or you could do just a salad on the side. A little salt. So we're going to leave the butter out of this because we've already got some of that essentially bacon fat in the pan.
Some beautiful colors there.
Yeah. Garlic would be really good. We'll turn this off. We don't want to cook it too much, kind of al dente. It's got a little bit of a crunch to it still. the broccolini. And just kind of incorporate, kind of bring the flavors all together. We'll just get some of the good stuff off the bottom here. Put a little liquid in here and deglaze the pan.
Yeah, we don't leave any of that behind. Plus, it's a real pain for the dishwasher.
Yeah. All right, now you can tell our water's starting to kind of simmer. We'll get it to a boil and kind of bring it down. How often do people poach eggs at home?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
About the same amount that are doing the hollandaise.
Well, we're going to hopefully inspire someone to do that today.
Poached eggs are a thing of beauty. You just crack open that yolk. Ugh.
So just lay down our veggies, and we're going to toast our bread in that same pan. You could do it you could do the veggies last if you wanted to as well.
Beautiful. All those goodies on there.
Okay, so now we're going to put some butter in the pan to toast our bread.
So, Chef, tell us a little bit about where we can find you cooking currently.
I'm on Asado, Cocina Argentina, and on 6th Avenue here in Tacoma. And our main focus is Argentinian food, so we do a lot of steaks off a wood fire grill. So every morning we start up our grill with hickory wood instead of using gas. And we do a lot of steaks, empanadas. We have a great happy hour with a chorizo burger that we do. We grind in-house. So focus a lot of doing things from scratch. Great wine selection, great cocktails. Kids are welcome during dinner hours. It's just a really fun restaurant to be at, and so far I've enjoyed being the chef there. We run specials every other week, so we run for 2 weeks. So right now we have some fresh pasta I made, some beet pasta. We have a pork and hominy stew, and it's just a fun place to be. All right, we've got our water boiling here. And we're going to do 2 eggs. And so we boil the water. You can use a slotted spoon or I use the fish spatula a lot for lots of things. So we're just going to kind of get a whirlpool going. And then you just drop your egg in. So you can do 2 at a time with that vinegar in there, or that acid, and they'll just cook together, separate, and just let those go for a minute. This is the part where you turn your hood vent on at home.
Keep it down. Don't set off your fire alarm.
Yeah.
Or
So probably the best technique would be to do your bread and then do your veggies, because you've got some of that. But we've got our toasted bread here.
Beautiful.
Pull it off the heat.
Would you recommend broiling your toast in the oven?
You could definitely do that. Whatever kind of is easiest for you. But just, I mean, we've got Eggs Benedict going, and we have a cutting board and 2 pots. And we're almost done.
Look at that.
I'm going to slice a couple green onions here for a sprinkle over the top.
little presentation and flavor.
Yeah. Green onions are great. If you don't use the white parts, you could just put them in water and they'll just start growing again in a cup. So if you put them in the ground, they'll grow. So that's kind of a fun thing if you have kids to put the green onions back in water and see them grow again.
That's brilliant.
And if you put them in the ground, and the next year they'll grow again, and then you have onion blossoms. So these white flowers that taste like onion.
Do you use those for anything personally?
Yeah, I grow them just to take them to work and use them as garnishes or play around, using those. So if you have space, just throw them in the ground, really. They're pretty resilient. The grocery store's just giving you a plant, basically.
Yeah.
Or you're buying it, but it can keep growing.
Get your money's worth.
Okay, so we've got our veggies, our toast. Our eggs are almost ready, so we'll do our ham down.
During a typical hollandaise session, you would still be whisking right now.
Yeah, I've seen demos here where they're still whisking.
It's just the whisking, which is entertaining. Just watch someone do a workout.
So we have our egg. It's got a little firmness to the whites. We'll just bring that over here.
Beautiful.
So
anyone have any questions? No?
I do this often, so I know I make it look easy, but it can be easy. If you do it a couple times, you'll be very surprised at how well your hollandaise came out and how your poached eggs came out. And people will be like, oh, wow, we had Benedict's over at so-and-so's house.
They'll be amazed.
Yeah.
And don't tell them that you used the blender. Just let them believe that you were whisking your little heart out. Oh, we have a question here.
Chef, can you save leftover hollandaise successfully?
Yeah, definitely. It won't, quite. It won't kind of fall the same way, but you could definitely use it. But once it gets cold and it hits the heat, it'll kind of melt again. But yeah, you can definitely save hollandaise for a couple of days.
Look at that texture.
Yeah.
And what else would you recommend putting hollandaise on?
Anything. These vegetables. Over a steak, it's pretty popular. It's kind of different than putting like a au jus or something. It goes well with seafood. The possibilities are endless.
I love it.
You can do different kinds of hollandaise. You can add dill. You could add spice like chili peppers or a pepper sauce, like kind of a red spicy hollandaise. You can let the butter go a little longer and make it a brown butter hollandaise, which is one of my favorites.
Yes. And what is browning your butter? What flavor profile would you describe that as?
Nutty. It's really interesting. It kind of gets this nutty texture to it. So we'll just do some fresh green onion. And then a little bit of paprika.
Can we get a shot of that beautiful little breakfast dish there?
Yeah. Do we move this? There we go.
Here we are. What are we adding now?
Just a little salt and pepper. Okay. Do we inspire anyone to try this at home?
Who's going to go home and give it a shot?
All right.
Yes.
So.
That's a victory, Chef.
Yes. So this was kind of last minute. I didn't have any recipes, but if you just kind of follow those steps, that you learned today, and you can always Google blender hollandaise. It's a thing. I didn't invent it. So blender hollandaise, and then poaching eggs. Just remember to have plenty of water with a little acid, and then once you get the water boiling, you can turn down the heat, and that egg will cook. And then we've got minimal pans here, and
Are you able
breakfast
to
is
crack
served.
one of those eggs and show us
Yeah, just let me get a picture of this real quick.
Okay, we gotta Instagram, guys.
Try to get some people.
Thing of beauty.
Yeah.
We have to inspire people both online and in person when we cook. Let's give it up for Chef Hudson Slater.
Thank you. Yeah, so we'll just so the good eggs Benedict, you'll just kind of the egg yolk kind of falls out.
It's so important.
It's like a secret bonus sauce.
Just like adds to the experience.
And then this will kind of on the plate, and then you get your veggies in there, and you'll just
sop it all
you'll
up.
just be set, and you just stay home and eat egg Benedict and get ready for the holidays.
Get ready for the holidays. It's an easy peasy holiday breakfast. Again, let's give it up for Chef Slater. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, how you doing?
Greeting cards have all been sent. The Christmas rushes through, but I still have one wish to make, a special one for you. Merry Christmas, darling. We're apart, that's true, but I can dream, and in my dreams I'm Christmasing with you. Holidays are joyful, there's always something new, but every day is a holiday when I'm near to you. The lights on my tree, I wish you could see. I wish it every day. The logs on the fire fill me with desire to see you and to say that I wish you Merry Christmas. Happy New Year too. I've just one wish on this Christmas Eve. I wish I were with you. Logs on the fire fill me with desire to see you and to say that I wish you Merry Christmas. Happy New Year too. I've just one wish on this Christmas Eve. I wish I were with you. I wish I were with you. Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, darling. It is He, Christ, who is born today. He joyful angels singing, Alleluia, Alleluia. He is born, let us adore him, Christ the Lord, King of kings, Prince of peace for all the universe. Alleluia, Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays, for For no matter how far away you roam, when you long for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can't beat home, sweet home. I met a man who lives in Tennessee, and he was heading for Pennsylvania and some homemade pumpkin pie. From Pennsylvania, folks are traveling down to Dixie's sunny shore. From Atlantic to Pacific, gee, the traffic is terrific. Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays, 'cause no matter how far away you roam, if you want to be happy in a million ways, for the holidays you can't beat home, sweet home.
I met a man who lives in Tennessee, and he was heading for Pennsylvania and some homemade pumpkin pie.
From Pennsylvania, folks are traveling down to Dixie's sunny shore. From Atlantic to Pacific, gee, the traffic is terrific. Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays, 'cause no matter how far away you roam, if you want to be happy in a million ways, for the holidays you can't beat home, sweet home. For the holidays you can't beat home, sweet home. Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man, but you can do the job while you're in town. Later on we'll conspire as we dream by the fire to face unafraid the plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland.
Busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air there's a feeling of Christmas. Children laughing, people passing, meeting smile after smile. And on every street corner you hear silver bells, silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city.
The sun is shining, the grass is green, the orange and palm trees sway. There's never been such a day in Beverly Hills, LA. But it's December the 24th, and I'm longing to be up north. Just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas with every Christmas card I
Test mic, test mic, test. Ah. Test, test. Test my test. Test my test. Test it for the host is mic testing. Oh.
Do you have one on your side?
I wonder, could you pray for me?
Okay.
Little altar boy, for I have gone astray. What must I do to be like you? Little altar boy, oh let me
That's the biggest feet ever. I'm back on.
Little altar boy, I wonder, could you ask our Lord? Ask him, altar boy, to take my sins away. What must I do to be holy like you? Little altar boy, please let me hear you pray. Lift up your voice.
Back there. Hello. There we go. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the final demo of our Cooking for the Holidays. We're still waiting on a mic? Oh, for the love. Okay. I jumped the gun, guys.
Test, test. Okay, it's there.
Testing.
Test, 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 test. Hello?
Hello. We hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Really? Well, what am I saying?
You're asking me what you're saying. I can hear you.
I'm sure that mic is down. Yeah, it's in. Where's all the mic clips?
This is the fun part. You guys get to hear a little bit of behind the scenes.
Okay, take the top off. No. The top. The mic. The tip. The windscreen. This one. It's a side of this right here. Take this off. Hold it. Kill this mic, please. I got it.
Well, Shooty Fruity or Moody?
We will get started in just a moment.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right. Sorry about that. Go away.
Okay. Oh, maybe.
Test. Yeah, it's working. I didn't even know that my foot was behind that cord like that.
Okay. Take it up there. See, came undone.
What clip?
It's not on. Oh, there's the clip. It's down. That's fine. Okay, now you've got a clip. Kill that mic, Mike. Drew, please. Oh, no, down. There you go.
Okay.
While we wait, this is a good time to, first of all, thank Bates Technical College for providing a live feed of all of the demos this week, and to mention that all of the students that have been hard at work to do this are volunteering their time.
Yeah.
So it's really a great hands-on opportunity, and they just show up and work hard to make the chefs look fantastic. Let's give it up for the students.
Cool. No, go for it.
We also like to thank Renewal, Remodel, and Additions for providing the stage that you see before you. There's also note cards on your seats. So if you feel like taking some notes, please do. And at the end here of the demo, there's an opportunity to sign up for an email list for a recipe. Are you ladies all mic'd up?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Oh, yay, I can hear you. So we are kicking off the final demonstration of the entire weekend with pastry chef Shannon Smith. Hello.
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing today.
So what we're doing today is we're doing 3 separate holiday-inspired cakes. We're kind of taking the idea of normal holiday flavors and putting a little bit of a spin on it. So a spice cake we have going on, which is rather than being a carrot spice, we're doing a parsnip, which is a slightly tweak, and then we're doing a brie buttercream with that. So it's a lot earthier, a lot different than you're kind of used to, but you'll be surprised. It's really nice. And then we also have a gingerbread cake, which everyone loves a gingerbread cake, or at least I do, with a classic cream cheese frosting, but the twist of that one would be we're using a yuzu marmalade. So yuzu is a Japanese fruit, if you're not aware, and it's hands down my favorite thing to put on anything, the yuzu. And then we also have a vanilla, I'm calling it a white pine cake. It's a vanilla scented cake. And then we're doing a pine bud syrup on it, and then we're also doing a pine dust, which is a ponderosa pine.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do some white chocolate barker on it, so it's going to look a little like a tree. And this is Charlotte. This is Charlotte Glaves. So my chef in crime.
Yeah. All the things, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty much we're going to show you. We'll have the recipes for you. We're not going to run through the recipes so much because that's just way too time consuming, and we just don't have the time for it here. We've got 40 minutes, and I could not possibly bake 3 cakes off and show you how to make all the frosting in that time. So we prepped a lot of it out, but we have all the recipes formatted. So if you need them, we can email everybody if you're wanting to have a recipe at the end. So a lot of this is going to be how to build and just kind of quickly decorate, but have it still look nice so you can get that out to your party because, time is of the essence, which I never have. So this is a way to, just like I said, we're going to show you how to build it and decorate it quickly so you can take a cake to a party. So the naked or dressed. So naked cake, we're going to do a couple of those, which is just going to be a cake, frosting, kind of stack cake, and that's it. We're not going to frost on the outside. We're going to take 5 hours to make a perfect, smooth buttercream finish. It's going to look nice, but it's going to be easy for you, and it's going to taste delicious, and that's all it really matters at the end of the day anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the Reader's Digest version of what we're doing. So
I'm intrigued by these holiday-inspired flavors that you have
So
coming.
starting, yeah. Gingerbread isn't really I didn't really reach too far out of the box on that one, but it tastes good, so it doesn't really matter.
That's right.
So that's the one we're going to start with. We're going to do the cream cheese buttercream, which is super simple, just like everybody always does with cream cheese frosting. It's your cream cheese, it's butter, it's sugar, it's delicious. And the yuzu marmalade, which we're going to brush the cake with. We were actually going to initially fold it into, but we kind of...
Whoopsies,
forgot our bowls. Because we didn't have time.
That's kind of the beauty of it. It's like everything doesn't have to be perfect. You can kind of mix and match and mush around, and it makes it like equally delicious, and it's still going to be fine. So.
Did you not get a mic? Where'd your mic go?
It's still here.
Oh, there it is. Can you hear you?
Yeah,
okay.
We can hear
I hope so. You guys can hear me?
Okay, good.
Yeah?
I don't know.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, super simple. We're just going to smudge it on. I'm not trying to make it fancy. Like I said, it's about tasting good, but it's about looking nice at the end. So, we'll just quickly put some cream cheese on, and apparently I'm not spinning. No, that's fine. That's just how it
Just
goes.
gotta
So
roll
use a
with it
marmalade.
sometimes.
Then we're going to just kind of marble it in. I'm not sure if you guys can see. You guys can see all this stuff, right?
Yeah, they're getting
Ish.
some good shots of it here
Okay,
and
cool. And then another stack. And also in the gingerbread, we did crystallized ginger, which I like my gingerbread to be really gingery. I don't want it to be a bunch of other flavors. It's the one I want it to taste the most because it's a gingerbread after all. So we were going to initially do little tiny gingerbread men, and then we thought that sounds adorable, but that does not really go with our theme of making it easy and quick to do. So that's
more
not
labor
helpful.
intensive there.
Having and sitting there and piping little tiny gingerbread men was not really going to go with the fast, tasty approach. So a little bit more yuzu marmalade. Gonna marble it in. Again, this is not something that you have to be crazy finicky about, because I wanted this to be something that you guys could actually approachable. You know, we don't want to do something that's just way too much work. As much as pretty pastry things are lovely like that, do we go one more high or is that good? More cake or less cake?
I think that
more.
More.
More, less. More.
Okay, more cake. We'll do one more.
I mean, it's cake, so.
So Charlotte, what Charlotte does, although other than being just an amazing chef and one of my best friends,
Yeah.
is she forages. So she goes out in the forest almost daily and is collecting mushrooms, is collecting, Charlotte, what are all the things you get?
All of
Other
this
than all
stuff
this,
today.
she did all this.
Yeah,
So she went and picked all this.
I like to focus on other things other than just mushrooms. A lot of edible herbs and different things that you might necessarily know that you can eat and use, other than just turning them into like different tinctures and things like that. And then I like to utilize those in everyday kind of food kind of things. So I do different trips and classes and different things that way. And then I always kind of like give you guys an opportunity to utilize that in like everyday uses as well. Yeah.
This is where we got our pine dust that we're using on one of our cakes.
Yeah, the pine dust. Yeah.
The pine bud syrup, all those things. She's kind of foraged for those and made those things possible. So that's where it kind of takes a little bit different turn on those. She actually went out and got these things for us. We didn't just go and buy them at a store. It's really cool.
Forage them from nature itself.
Yes.
From the natures, yeah.
Now you mentioned doing classes or walkthroughs.
Yeah, different classes. I take a trip out just kind of whenever anybody really wants to go. And then what one?
Sure.
Oh, and then, yeah, I live in Snoqualmie, so it's like literally right outside my front door, essentially. And then we go up around different hiking trails and just kind of be like, oh, hey, by the way, you can eat this. This is what this is. This is what, you know, look for in these things, other than, hey, here's this random mushroom, you know, that a lot of people are like, I don't know, am I going to die if I eat it? Yeah, you know, ooh. So it's kind of one of those things, yeah, just to make sure, you know.
Can you snip me some nice little pine?
Pretty pines.
Pretty pine. So yeah, for the gingerbread, it's pretty much this is where we're going with it. We're not going to go crazy. Like I said, we're not going to do a bunch of stuff on the outside because our flavors are already there. So making anything more on the outside is just kind of putting more stress on yourself. So then we're going to do a candied orange peel, which is super simple. All you do is peel, zest an orange, blanch it in water, which if you don't know what blanching in water means, it means bringing your water up to a boil, putting in this case, zest in for about 30 to 60 seconds, pulling it out, and then make a simple syrup, which again, if you don't know, is water, sugar, boil, it's half and half. And then you guys let these guys simmer in there for about 30 minutes on low, 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 and you have this amazing candied orange zest, which is like, it's really just candy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so easy. You don't have to do anything. You just kind of blanch, then let it go on its own. And fresh cranberry because it looks nice and tastes amazing, and it's the holidays. So, we have our holly. And then Charlotte went and forged us some holly today
holly.
because
It's crazy.
I love
that's
it.
the holidays. So, we're going to put those up there.
And if you can't forage, you know, or go out and, you know, you're worried about, oh, hey, did the dogs pee on this? Did this happen here? Like, you literally can buy it in the grocery store, generally, any flowers and stuff. Just make sure that you pull it off before you eat it. A lot of the flowers that you grow in the grocery store, actually not a lot, all of them, are extremely high in pesticides. And so you really shouldn't, you know, have them around your food, especially things like frostings and things like that are going to soak and absorb those. So,
great tip.
Yeah.
So dusting it with a little powdered sugar because it reminds us all of snow, which is slightly too soon to be talking about, but, you know, we're talking about it anyways.
That's right. We're cooking for the holidays right now.
Exactly.
We're
so
preparing.
Let's get ourselves in the mindset because that's where we're headed, which I'm really excited about, but not everybody is, but I'm really excited.
I think everyone here probably
I would
is,
like to
since
believe
we're-
everyone here is, unless someone got drug along, which that's definitely happened. I guarantee you there's people here that got drug along by someone else.
Grandpa. Oh, yeah.
So, here we go. We're going to take Charlotte's freshly foraged holly. It's as simple as setting it on top, kind of making it look arranged nicely. We're just going to take a little bit of our orange, which is kind of mimicking the flavors of the yuzu because yuzu is a citrus, so I couldn't get my hands on fresh yuzu, so I got my hands on some oranges from the local store. Just do a couple little curls. And like I said, you can just eat this. It's like kind of
delicious.
So good. And then we're just going to garnish it with a couple cranberries because it looks like holly berries, and it also is very holly day.
See what you did
So
there?
bad.
No?
Tying it all together.
Anybody?
Yeah.
There's probably more of that. More where
All right,
that
cool.
came
And so,
from.
There is a
super
lot.
simple. It's done. Like, this is not a complicated
Look at
thing.
that.
We're going to take a slice of it. And also, when you slice it up personally and serving it for everyone's servings, you also can kind of put a little bit on the side. So, you can do individual garnishes of the orange and the cranberry on each serving. So,
Right.
it looks fine on its own, but also when people can eat it for themselves. So,
It's a charming, simple, beautiful
just super
little
charming.
cake there.
It's a naked cake.
Let's give it up.
Yay. Charlotte, which one are we doing next?
Next one, we're going to do the spice parsnip cake.
The spice parsnip cake.
Spice parsnip.
Which was Charlotte's kind of one of those Charlotte and I collaborate on many things.
Lots
This is
of
kind of
things,
what
yeah.
we do. It's like a constant collaboration.
And my whole thing is I don't like overly sweet desserts, and I'm kind of like one of those savory friends of desserts. So I like to put a lot of things that could be overly cloyingly sweet and then tone it down a lot by adding like vegetables or herbs or different things like that into them. So this one here is really good if you're not into super overly sweet stuff. It's not going to be so heavy too that you can't you get this whole meal, holiday meal, and then you're like, oh, we gotta go dessert too now. No, it's kind of one of those things too. And then you're using parsnips, which how often do you use parsnips in anything? Like most people don't, and they don't really know how to use them or what to use them for.
It's pretty much just roasting them with a
Right.
chicken or something, and that's pretty much it.
And then you kind of, so it's like, it's really nice to get that other, you know, form there, and you get that flavor, the sweet flavor from it, and all of that as well. So
that was that one.
Oh yeah, this one. Sorry.
Grab that round.
You got it.
So where can we find you ladies on a regular basis baking?
So
Well-
currently on a regular basis, I have stepped out of the kitchen of not professionally cooking for myself as much anymore because I have a few children in the front row that seem to think mom working 14 hours a day wasn't their favorite thing in the world. So kind of not doing that right now. But I'm working for a specialty food company in the city and in Seattle and in Portland called Provista Specialty Foods. So we're an importer of a lot of really cool, really awesome products that you can't get in other places of the country. We bring in a lot of
like the yuzu.
olive oils. The yuzu is one of, that's where I
Yeah.
found the yuzu. That was one of my purveyors that I kind of was like, oh, this is amazing, snatched it up. And Charlotte and I used to actually use that company as one of our purveyors for the kitchen, and so that's how we kind of became in contact with them. And yeah, but last year at this time we were
at
knee
McCall
deep
Hall.
in McCall Hall Nutcracker, ramping up for the
Lands, yeah.
Nutcracker. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
if you were at the
that's where
Nutcracker last year and ate food, we cooked it for you.
It was us. Here we are.
That was us.
Yeah.
And right now Charlotte's just foraging. She's knee deep in
And
the
starting
earth.
that whole, starting that whole thing, and trying to kind of like get it to the next level of me just going out and hiking around, and dragging people along with me being like, you got to try this. And they're like, no, I don't want to. So actually taking people out who want to go and want to try different things and learn. So that's what I'm
Love
doing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's so many people around the city that are really into the idea of doing that, and I never would have thought it. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're doing the parsnip cake, and this is again the one that is not as sweet as some of the other ones. So the triple brie buttercream frosting is what we're using. I used a Cremeux de Bourgogne. It is a luscious, lovely. If anyone likes cheese,
So it's a brie, but it's like
it's a brie.
super soft and very, very creamy, and it has a very bloomy rind on the outside. And it's when you whip it, it's essentially just becomes liquid. And so instead of doing like a cream cheese frosting, we did the brie buttercream. So a cheese, like a creamy cheese, we'll still get that flavor of the brie in there as well. Again, it's a little bit more savory, but you still amp it up with a lot of the powdered sugar and the different things that way as well.
Yeah, so simply is the brie come to room temperature, take the rind off of it, put it in a mixer, add some powdered sugar to taste. Like, to me, I didn't run it really sweet. I put in the recipe, I did put how much, the average standard number with this amount of confectioner sugar would be, but I prefer a less sweet. And sweet to taste, and that's it. So it's like this most simple possible thing, but you do want to keep it chilled. This is one that you want to keep it chilled. So at room temperature, you're gonna have a gooey mess. So don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. And so yeah, again, we're gonna do it really simple on this one. We're gonna, what else did we say we're gonna put on that one?
Just that, and
It
then
was just that.
a little bit of the pine nuts.
We also toasted some pine nuts.
And we were gonna add those just to add some sort of like crunch to it. And pine nuts are pretty soft, really fragrant, and then
No, pine nuts were on the pine cake. Parsnip cake.
Oh,
Free
sorry.
buttercream.
Never mind.
The Swiss meringue buttercream goes on the outside.
Yeah,
then the
you're
gold
right.
ribbon.
All right,
See, that's why you. This is why you have prep lists, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah,
right there.
we're getting
So when
all
you're on
confused.
stage and you're like, oh, these lights are in my face, and there's people, and you actually can remember.
Yeah.
And when your friend flubs and doesn't remember what you're supposed to
Killing
remember.
me. Shut up.
Ah, way to call her out.
Woo.
It's fine.
Rough.
She can take it.
Yeah.
She can take it. She's a tough one.
Broad shoulders.
Broad shoulders. So you can already see how soft this is. And this has been chilling all day. So it's not, like I said, you don't want, this is not a, if you bring this one to a party, this is not one you want to have sitting out on the buffet all day. You definitely want to kind of keep it chilled. It's helpful hint from someone who's actually left it out too long and ended up with a mess. So.
We
I think
learned
we'll only
from
do
our
3 on that one.
mistakes.
Was that?
I think we're only gonna do 3.
I think so too. That was a thicker cake.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go on the outside of this guy. We're going to do a little of the Swiss meringue buttercream, which, again, is on your recipe. But I also put a little cheat on this one. So I did the long way, which is cracking eggs. It's bringing it up to, you want to split your eggs with egg whites and egg yolks. You don't want any egg yolks. You bring your egg whites and your sugar in a double boiler up to 140 degrees. Whisk, whisk, whisk. It's a lot. Like this, it's a process. Then you put it in a stand mixer, slowly push your things in. I put a little cheaty way for you, which is go to the store, grab that can of marshmallow fluff. Yes, marshmallow fluff. And then put it in your stand mixer, turn your mixer on, put soft butter in. I put proportions and the recipes for you guys, and that's it. It's pretty much the shortcut, because what you're doing when you do the egg whites and the sugar and whipping it is you're already essentially making a marshmallow fluff anyway. So I just kind of cut that out, and it's when you have no time, it's a great way to go.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's super great. So just so you know, I did that for you guys. And what else are we doing on this one?
Just real simple. We're gonna do.
Would you cut the ribbon for me?
Yeah, we're gonna just do like a nice dainty little ribbon around the edge, and then some of these little cool little oak leaves and different things like that as well.
We have a
so
fridge, don't we?
like tying that into the seasons. Yeah,
I
We're
love
actually gonna put this guy in the fridge because it's a little warm, and then we're gonna come back. We're gonna do another one in the meantime.
Great.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. Tuck it away.
Yeah, get it nice and chilled. And that's a great thing when you're making cakes, is to always, like, if there's a time that if you've got like some, you're gonna step away, put it in the fridge, because if you come back, things sometimes kind of get out of control. Like, things kind of take a life of their own. So always put it in the fridge. It's a great way to kind of like it's like putting a pause button on your work. Just put it in the fridge.
All right.
Pause.
So
Now we're gonna do our pine. Let's work on our pine. So on this one, first I'm gonna give you a quick demo on how I made the pine bark. So I also want to do something that was easy and nice and easy and approachable for you guys to be able to accomplish at home, which I'm not sure. I kind of have a feeling. Where are the gloves? They're there. I kind of have a feeling that since you're at a holiday Christmas expo, somebody here has dipped a pretzel in white chocolate. Yes, anybody? Oreos, yeah, for sure.
absolutely.
So you know that chocolate that you buy at the store that you can melt in the microwave super easy? So we call that coating chocolate in the industry, because it has a stabilizer in it that keeps the chocolate from breaking, which is way more than you have any idea what I'm saying right now. But go buy that stuff. I chopped it up. I put it in a little container like this. We're going to put it in the microwave. And I will show you how it's done. Is this a microwave? Whoa.
it's like I don't know if you can see
That's
it.
pretty cool.
It's
I don't know
literally
if you
like
can see
a
that.
drawer.
It's a
like
drawer.
microwave
Can you
drawer.
guys see that at all?
No.
Oh, you can't see it. It pulls out. I'm like, whoa, it's blowing my mind right now. So, anyways, I'm gonna put this in the drawer microwave.
There we have a little peek there.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Drawer.
Anybody?
Yeah. Crazy.
So, yeah, that's my cool thing for the day. Okay, so we're gonna put it in, and you always want to go back and keep stirring it, which will tell you that on the container, but just always do that for yourself.
Read the
And
directions.
Read the directions. The directions are made for people who don't read directions, so always read them. You're never gonna go wrong if you read the directions. So, what we're gonna do is we're going to melt some of our chocolate. We're gonna melt a little bit of the dark chocolate. We're gonna melt the white chocolate as well. Is it even doing anything? It is. Okay, and I use 2 Silpats because where is that?
I put it back in the fridge.
Oh, the chocolate?
Yeah, because it was getting
I
kind of
need
soft.
that. It's getting soft?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll show you the end, and then we'll go back and we'll run through really quick on how to do it. So this is what you're going to end up with. Is it soft?
Right.
Too soft?
Nah, it should be okay.
Okay. So this is what you're going to end up with. And then we're going to unroll it. And it is a little softer than it should have been, because I think these lights might have gotten it, but it's fine. It's fine.
It'll work out.
Fine. It's all gonna be fine.
It's fine.
It's gonna be delicious.
Let's put it back in.
And bark.
Nah, it's fine. It'll be fine.
It's okay, guys.
If you haven't figured out, that's the catchphrase. It's fine. It's always fine. It just depends on the level of fine it is.
That's right.
Is it the fine where you're freaking out? Is it the fine where you can recover from it? Is it the fine where you can't recover from it, but you tell people it's fine so they think you've got it together? That could be the moment we're having right now. But
you just never
it's
know. We'll never know.
Luckily, I brought stuff to make it again, so we'll be fine.
There it is again. It's going to be fine, is what she's trying to say.
So what you're seeing is, at the end result is going to be, it looks a lot like bark.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
Birch bark, correct, yes. So, Charlotte, you want to check the chocolate that's in the microwave?
Get it
the
straight.
drawer.
This is creepy.
It's kind of freaking me out right now. This microwave drawer. Okay, so we're gonna put our bark aside, and then we're gonna hurry and make some.
I say a little bit longer.
Still a little bit longer.
Not by much.
Oop.
So what are we whipping up to go
So we're
along with
melting
that?
this chocolate. So we're gonna show you really quick on how you actually do it. And maybe we'll actually use that one and not the one that I just pulled out. You got a sheet tray?
Either way, it's chocolate.
Either way, it's chocolate. Either way, it's going to taste good. That's the great thing about doing desserts, is even when you mess something up, people love to eat the things you mess up. It's the best part of my job, is I'm like, oh my God, this is messed up, and my kids are like, can I take it? Or people also, if you're making, if you're doing, they'll call it R&D, which is basically just trying to compose a new recipe and figure out a dessert. People love to try your tests. People want to be your test dummies. It's not often, I don't really want to be my doctor's test dummy and things like that. So
volunteer guinea pig for
no,
food, though?
no one wants to be a guinea pig for certain things, but people always want to be a guinea pig when you're a pastry chef. We need that chocolate one first, though, because it's going to get laid down. Is it not melting? Come on, drawer microwave. Do you want to stack the pine while I'm waiting for this? So, do we know how many days it is until Christmas at this point? I'm sure I was going to say, I'd be really disappointed if somebody didn't know how many days it is till Christmas. Not enough? I always think that. I mean, yeah, it's not enough, but it's going to get here, and it's going to be a week before Christmas, and all of a sudden I'm going to go, oh my gosh. But we have Halloween coming up, the beginning of this holiday season. In my mind, it is, at least. All right, cool. So that's going to go. We're going to finish this up really quick. Charlotte right now, she just put down one of the layers of the vanilla cake.
Yep.
Then she's laying down some of the pine bud syrup, which is pine bud syrup, but it's made of
Yeah, so
pine buds.
it's a very nice little green starts on the pine trees. And then essentially you're just going to boil it down in almost like a simple syrup. And then
Reduce.
let it keep going, reducing. And then you're going to pull all the little buds out. They're going to be really broken down though also at the same time. And then you just drain it up, and then you can either blend it or it just kind of depends on the thickness that you want. But this is almost like maple syrup consistency. I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, it's pretty kind of loose, and you can make it thicker or looser just depending on how much sugar you're going to put on there. And essentially what we're doing is we're just going to brush the top of that. Nobody likes really dry cake, and this is kind of like a little cheater into that. If you brush the cake with some sort of syrup or simple syrup or something like that, it keeps the cake kind of moist, kind of puts like a protective layer on there too.
It's also a good way to help a cake out that you accidentally left in too long.
Right.
Because that happens sometimes.
Over baking, or
Yes.
say you bought the cake, if you bought it just like a sheet cake at the grocery store or whatever, and you're cutting it out and you're like, oh, I'm not going to get to it for a couple of days, that's like another way to kind of bring it back and jazz it up a little bit more. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's
So
excellent.
what we've got going on over here now is, there I am. So I've got the chocolate melted. I'm just kind of really loosely using my offset spatula, which is just, it's a knife that's offset. And we're kind of drizzling. And then just gonna go in and kind of smudge it a little here and there, just to resemble the effects of the bark. This is so easy. It's almost silly. It's that easy. And smudge, smudge, smudge. I'm gonna pop it in the freezer to give it a quick chill, really quick, which is crystallizing the sugar, crystallizing the chocolate, which is gonna make it hard. And since this is the coating chocolate I was talking about, it's kind of dummy proof. Where untempered chocolate, which is kind of the other way you would do that if you weren't using coating chocolate, is you temper your chocolate, and that's just a lot of work. This takes the risk of breaking your chocolate out of it. So this is the way you want to go. It's the way I go at home too. I don't go home and temper my chocolate or do anything like that. It's not practical at all. So that's gonna cool for just a second. She's finishing that up. She's on her second layer. So she's doing the cake, then she's doing the pine bud syrup that we talked about, then a white chocolate buttercream, which is just the buttercream I told you about, which is the cheater way you can do that. And I melted white chocolate and just poured it in and incorporated it that way. And then she's sprinkling toasted pine seeds, pine nuts.
I am.
You forgot. I thought
Not.
you forgot too.
I'm
Yeah,
not.
I had a feeling. I was like, that. So I said it to remind her because I thought that she forgot to. It's fine.
She
all
is
the,
now.
all the wrong ones.
It's all coming together. Just
Yeah,
like
that.
holy moly.
It's already set. So we're gonna take the white chocolate, pour it down. Take our offset spatula. Did I get a big one up here? There's not a big one up here, is there?
No, babe.
That's fine. We'll use the little one. And smear it. It's not perfect. Nothing about this is supposed to be perfect. So if you mess it up, you didn't really mess it up because there's no right or wrong way to do this one. Which is my favorite way to do any recipe.
Super simple.
Which is weird that I'm a pastry chef because things get really, really complicated really quickly. You can't fix too many mistakes in the kitchen when you're baking. You can't just add salt to it, but you can add chocolate to it. So, there we go. Done, and then we're gonna lay the other. Oh, is that the fridge making noise?
Yeah, we've got fancy equipment up here. Holy
My
moly.
fridge was yelling at me. I didn't close it. So, press it between the two steel pads. You can also use parchment, which is why I brought parchment up, but I was like, I'm going to use my steel pads. So, then just roll it up. We're going to stick it in the freezer again and let it set, and then we're going to come back to it at the end, and hopefully with a better result than we did that first time. I do think it got too hot. I should have listened to you.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, easy. We're going to put it in the freezer. We're going to crystallize the sugar and close it all the way so it doesn't yell at us again. I think the freezer's on. And let's pop that up there. Now that we're waiting for that one, let's move back to our parsnip. Clean up.
You guys have some seamless teamwork up there.
We've done this dance a few times in the kitchen.
Yeah.
We dance well. All right. Cool.
I don't dance well.
She doesn't. I don't dance well either.
Not in real,
I don't either.
real dancing, no. Ooh. Yeah, yeah.
Real dancing, not so much.
So great.
And the Swiss meringue buttercream is right here. Thank you, thank you. So, did you cut that? You want to cut that ribbon?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Got our chilled parsnip
Yes, we
cake
shared
there.
the parsnip with the brie buttercream. It's still soft, but we're going to work with it. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
Do you think that we say that a lot? I feel like we say that. I'm not sure if we're convincing ourselves or everyone around us when we say it's fine. And you're going to get crumbs in this. A lot of times you put something on called, when you're trying to do that really nice fancy frosting that's so perfectly and seamless, you'll put down a layer called a crumb coat, which is pretty much just a protection. It's like when you're painting a car, it's like priming the car. But we're not doing that because we don't have time for that.
And it's a semi-dressed.
And this is a semi-dress cake. This is not completely nude. This is not completely dressed to go out, but it's semi. This is dressed like in your own home. You're not going to someone else's.
I don't think not one person would complain.
So yeah, it's gonna be rough. That's the idea about this cake. This is supposed to be kind of a more rustic cake because of the parsnip and the brie. None of these flavors are super high, crazy elevated flavors, but they're great.
Does anyone in the audience have questions?
Yeah.
Just want to know. All right. Just want to give you an opportunity in case
Do you have a question?
did.
This one in the front.
Somebody? I got a microphone.
This is my kid.
Which
that
one?
was my son,
Where am I
the
going?
one in the front, right
You
there.
gotta,
he's on the spot now.
Oh yeah, you got a microphone.
Wait, I do? That's yours. Hi.
Hi. That's it.
Well, hi.
Hello.
That was great. Thanks so much for that.
It's a lot of pressure having a microphone at you. I get it. I understand.
You're like, am I saying too much? Am I saying too little?
Where do you, is this on? Where do you start to find out how to forage your ingredients?
Things.
I'm super self-taught. I took a couple different classes with like basic, like herbal classes. Essentially, is where it started. I signed up for the Puget Sound Mycological Association or Society, basically, and I kind of every now and then can go to different classes there as well. But a lot of it is lots of books, lots of time like reading online, different things like that. Survival classes, hiking, different things that way. And then the hardest part was like getting it specific to like Washington State. So looking for books that were specific to, Washington State, like survival or hunting or fishing, things like that. Getting along with, I have a connection at the Indian tribe up in Snoqualmie. So I talked a lot to them about what they were eating and what they were gathering and kind of going back that way. Yeah, and then bringing it all kind of back around with, the herbal side of it. Knowing that, I know how to make the different tinctures and the different like salves and the balms and different things like that. And instead of using, like sage and mugwort and like all these weird things, knowing the different properties and the different styles of, like pine. Pine, for example, is like extremely high in vitamin C. Like more so, it's like 2,000 times more than an orange would be. And a lot of people don't know that, but like, it's just kind of like getting into that history and the, when people were coming over from Europe and they were coming here, they were like starving to death, not realizing that right in front of you, it's so easy, or they were dying of scurvy and all they had to do was literally pull a branch off and just start like chewing on it. They didn't even swallow it. They just had to like chew around a little bit and then spit it out.
It's amazing.
And it's right there that would save you. Yeah, so just kind of like bringing that and like, because I was just kind of getting bored hiking. Not like hiking is boring, but like, what is this? How do I, utilize that? And then having the background in culinary and cooking, I wanted to like be able to tie that back into what I love, like where my passion actually is. So
it was a natural progression from your culinary world to move into
right.
that. Yeah.
And
I
then,
love it.
Working in the kitchens like 14, 15, 16, sometimes longer hours a day, like 5 to 6 to, crazy, every holiday, all the things that my whole thing was to get as far away from that as possible on my days off. So aside from like being home and just doing laundry and paying bills and vacuuming my house, it was, I just got to go outside. Like I got to be outside. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if it's snowing. I don't care if I come back and I'm covered head to toe in dirt or spider webs or whatever it is. I'm just outside. I just need to be outside.
Love it.
And then kind of bringing that back to tie it back in.
It's so Northwest of you.
Yeah, I know.
And in the meantime, Chef Shannon has literally beautified this cake
with Charlotte's foraged
items right here.
Look at that. And that's all it takes. I mean, that's all it is. It's a little piece of ribbon. It's some frosting. It's some leaves from your backyard.
Oak leaves.
Love it.
And now you have a great fall cake. And that's all it takes. Like, that's why it's so simple. It's so easy to do.
Got a good shot of that guy.
It's so easy to do.
It
It doesn't take much work. And just let nature work for you. Let the natural flavors of food come through. Don't overthink it. Don't push some agenda on the food that you want it to be this thing. Just let it do what it's going to do anyways. And that's what it did. We did super simple, like nice cake, easy, quick frosting. You're not breaking your back about, is it too perfect? It's not. It's not perfect at all, and that's not the point of this. The point of it's to look pretty, to taste wonderful, and to use what's at your hands to get you to that point. So there we are. And I
Love
mean,
it.
again, really simple to kind of like pull the whole theme of this cake together. Also, presentation on something like that makes something so simple look so much more composed and put together. If you're doing a cake that you've got florals on, if you're doing a cake that you've got leaves on, bring the woods back to this. So we went and bought these little rounds. They're super easy. It's just about, yeah.
And there's
Use
like
what you have.
super, I think I got most of those from, you can just Goodwill or around, or hey, Bob down the street who's selling a quart of firewood. Can you just cut me a couple rounds? Cool, yeah, here, this is it,
There was a day I went out and I found a fallen log, and I took it back to my garage, and I cut little logs, these little round. This wasn't these exact rounds, but cut little rounds off it so we could use it for service. Yeah. Dry them out first, though, because if you don't, your food's gonna end up tasting like that pine.
Or put a barrier.
Yeah, put a barrier. I did that on accident on the very first time I ever did it, and I was eating the cake, and I was like, oh, this cake tastes like the wood, and it wasn't a white pine cake, so it wasn't supposed to taste like the wood.
Didn't quite make sense then.
Yeah. Moving on to the white pine cake, we've got that. I'm not sure. You want to check where this chocolate is, if it's set in the freezer? Yep.
So now we're going to check on our tree
she's gonna
bark.
check on where our bark is at, and then we're going to do rough frost this one again. And then when we're done rough frosting, all we're going to do is take that bark, which is going to be broken, whether it's the bark that we came with or whether it's the bark that's being made right now. I don't know. And then just press it up against the side like shingle around the side. And we're also going to use some of the sprigs, the pine sprigs she brought, again, to kind of bring the nature and do it on the cake. How are we looking?
I feel like
now it got too cold. Well, let's let it come up to temp a little bit. Well, I do that. And where's my white chocolate? Is my white chocolate? It is. Yeah, perfect.
That was.
Labels. Always label everything.
Oh.
And if you're crazy like I am, you'll use a label maker and you'll label everything.
Yeah.
Love those things.
I love them too. I love them so much. My daughter was labeling everything in the car on the way here because she got a hold of my label maker. So everything in the car had a label on it, including her forehead. I don't know. The mind of a 9-year-old is its own thing.
You just got to make sure you know, Mom.
Yeah, but she didn't label it forehead. She labeled it something else. I don't remember what it was, but... Oh, what was it? I don't even know what that means. 6 speeds? 6 speeds.
All right.
Maybe that's how her brain functions, in 6 speeds.
Maybe.
Sometimes it's way faster than I want it to be, and sometimes it's a little slower than I want it to be. How is it chocolate now? Are we there? Or should we just use... Oh, and also on these cakes, so you're going to look at them from the stage, and you're going to see that they're not really, nice and smooth on the side. When you do cakes in a cake round, they're really nice and smooth. What we did, to really kind of expedite the baking of the cakes, which is a great tip to do, we did not do cake rounds, because if you don't have enough rounds, you also are kind of stuck there baking off one round, and then you're sitting there, and then you're doing stuff, and you're waiting for that one to bake off. And if you're doing a 3-layer or 4-layer cake, and you only have one cake round, that can kind of kill your time. So we baked them on sheet trays, took a stamp, and just kind of cut them out. So that really expedites your time and makes things a lot easier and simpler for you. So
Perfect.
Invest in that. It was on Amazon, and I think I spent $9 on it. So
well worth
it. Thanks, Amazon.
Easy peasy.
I might use Amazon Prime a little too much. That smile from the front row would tell me yes, I do use Amazon Prime too much. And we're gonna do it. We're just frosting right on the pedestal. You can use cake rounds, but to me that's just waste that you don't really need, because all you gotta do is I'm not doing this fancy. And we're gonna come in with a cloth right after, and we're just gonna sweep the crumbs right out the side. So don't overthink it. Don't use a cake run if you don't need to. It's not worth it. And it's more money for no reason. You're gonna throw it away. Or recycle it. Because that's mandatory in King County.
Is it?
It is. Recycling is mandatory in King County. They do audits on your trash. And if they come across your trash can, and your trash can has recycling in your trash, you get a $250 fine.
Wow.
Yeah. So enjoy that in Pierce County. I don't think that's happened here yet. Okay, cool. So if our bark is doing anything that we want it to do, then we can start decorating with that. Kind of. You want to hand me some choice pieces?
Round 2 looking okay?
Round 2 is lit. I mean, it's there. So, like I said, we're just gonna shingle it. Where's the other ones? Should we do a mix of these guys?
Yeah.
The great thing about things like this is it's, as with any art, it's a lot of improvising. It's a lot of having an idea in your head as to what it was gonna look like, and then realizing that your idea is just not what it wanted to do. And so you're just gonna have to work with it, work with the medium. That's just cooking. If anyone here cooks, which I'm sure you all do, you know that you have an idea in your head of what you want to make, and then all of a sudden it changes.
Don't marry
because
yourself to that
you
idea.
burned something, or you didn't have an onion, or you didn't have a component to the thing you were going to make. So you just work with it. And sometimes it works out much better than you ever imagined the initial thing to be.
Have a great shot of the bark there on the screen.
Oops, as it falls. Any good pieces over there? Cool. Come pop them on. Ooh, those are nice. So this is what we're actually after. Anyone?
Good shot of that.
Where is the
Yep,
camera? Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. So yeah, this is what we're after. And it's not perfect. It's not supposed to be. So let's just get it on there.
Doesn't have to be perfect to be delicious.
It doesn't have to be perfect to be delicious. And it's supposed to be rough, so none of this is supposed to be smooth. Because I could have come up here and I could have showed you a beautiful fondant-covered cake that was perfect and smooth, but it takes a lot of time, and it's just not, like I said, as at the holidays, to me, any day already, I'm busy. But during the holidays, if you're trying to get to a party and you just got off work, or this or that, there's not time. So don't overthink it, because no one else is. You're the only one that's thinking about it. People just want to eat your cake.
That's right.
And we're almost there.
It's a whimsical little cake there.
It is. Look at that. You want to cut some, after you're doing sticking those, you want to cut some sprigs of your foraged pine. Foraged? Well, you forage. You're a forager.
Forage.
Okay, we're almost done.
Oh, do we have a question up front here? Another
it looks like a crown?
Oh, yeah,
I guess it kind of does look like a crown, doesn't it?
A wood nymph crown.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a little, what's the book? Where the Wild Things Are, yep.
Yeah.
You knew exactly what I was thinking. Not Game of Thrones.
That's a whole different cake, guys.
That's a whole different cake. I don't think that's holiday inspired at all. Okay, cool.
Beautiful.
And then we're going to use a little bit of Charlotte's Ponderosa pine dust just to pull that pine flavor back. This is really light pine flavor. It's not going to be overly, you're not going to feel like you're eating a log. But it's kind of getting back the flavors that we wanted.
Yeah, so Ponderosa pines are the pines with the big long needles. And that one is the red pine. So essentially it's when they're dead, it's the dead pine leaves. So the red dry ones. And then I just took them and kind of pulverized them in the, I used the coffee grinder and did it that way. And I get this like nice dust And again,
Easy.
like crazy high in vitamin C. I've used it as like a curry base. I've added it to different soups. We did it for the cakes a couple times. I've done it in like all different kind of things. So.
And we had another question. How do you make sure that the items from the woods are clean and bug-free?
Well, I take a lot of things and I put them in a saltwater bath, essentially is what I do. And I just fill my sink up, and I have one of the bigger sinks. Just put the plug in, kind of warmish, coldish water, and then salt. And then I let that kind of like come to, like dissolve, and I just dip the branches in it, kind of shake it off, let them dry in my dish drainer on a rack, and then use them that way. And salt is a natural, it'll totally pull all those away.
Excellent.
And there's multiple times where there's been like little bugs crawling around my, my house or whatever, but I just kind of like, whoops, and like get them back outside, or, hopefully not get them done.
And look at that.
And there we go.
Beautiful. A close-up of that one. Close-up of our 3 beautiful, easy. You just made that look so
Beautiful,
easy.
easy to make. Absolutely easy. And they taste great.
Yeah.
I think. I like to think so.
Let's give it up for the ladies.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming out. And let them eat cake, I guess is what they say.
Let them eat cake. They're going to do samples, so make sure you line up in an orderly fashion. If you have any final questions, feel free to ask the ladies and sign up for the cake recipe email.
Before we cut them? Yeah, let me get a